Good evening and welcome to the April 21st, 2025 meeting of the City of Summit Zoning Board of Adjustment. My name is Miriam Zahn and I'm the Vice Chair of the Zoning Board. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. In accordance with New Jersey Statute 10:4-10, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to a newspaper of record and has been posted here in City Hall. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. For the benefit of the interested public, this meeting is being live streamed on the city's YouTube page and also broadcast on Summit's government channel, which is Comcast Channel 34 and Verizon Channel 30. A transcript of this meeting is also being taken using the video and audio, so we need all speakers to utilize one of the microphones in the room. Please note that the fire exits are to my right, your left, and at the back of the room where you entered. The city has a listening system to assist the hearing impaired. If anyone needs hearing assistance, please obtain the system at the dais and return it thereafter. Ms. Kotiga, please call the roll of the members.
Mr. Curran?
Here.
Mr. Millay?
Here.
Mr. Nelson is excused. Mr. Steiner?
Here.
Mr. Yuko?
Here.
Ms. Chifo?
Here.
Mr. Feskins is excused. Mr. Chanchuli? Mr. Nearing?
Here.
Chairman Loikis is excused. Vice Chair Zahn.
Here. Andy Ball is the zoning board's attorney. Mr. Ball advises the board members on matters of law and is the key interface with an applicant's attorney. Mr. Ball does not vote on the applications. Nicole Kotiga is a city employee and is acting as the zoning board secretary. Our board secretary works with applicants on preparing their applications, planning our agendas, and keeping our meeting minutes. The board secretary also does not vote on the applications. Also present are our experts who are hired annually by the board to provide input to the board. Tonight, we have Mr. Carl O'Brien from Collier Engineering, and also present is Mr. Tom Behrens from Burgess Associates, our board planner. These experts are seated at the table to the right of the board, the public's left. They do not vote on the applications. Our board consists of 7 regular members and up to 4 alternates. All members can participate in the hearings tonight, but a maximum of 7 can vote. Most applications require a simple majority to be approved. Before we enter executive session to vote on the application, you will be advised how many votes are required. Each case will begin with the applicants or their attorney giving an overview of the application process to date and the variances that are required. We then hear from any additional expert witnesses the applicant may have to help explain the application and why the variances are needed. The board experts, followed by board members, may ask questions of the applicant, their attorney, and the expert witnesses. Due to recent cases running excessively long, we strongly encourage applicants and their experts to give brief and concise testimony so that we can get to as many cases as possible in a given evening. Once the board members and the board professionals have completed their questioning, the public will have an opportunity to ask questions. This is not the time to tell us what you think about this case. That opportunity comes at the end of the hearing. Please be careful as to how you phrase your questions. They should not be preceded with a statement about the case, but should be a direct question to the witness. Also, before you ask your questions, please clearly state your name, spell your last name, and provide your address. It is important that our court reporter be able to keep a clear and accurate public record. After all witnesses have been heard, members of the audience have their second opportunity to speak, and at that time, you may express your opinion, positive or negative, about the application. Then the public hearing is closed, and we then enter into executive session where the board members discuss the case and vote. You will be able to listen to our executive session, but you will not normally be able to participate in our discussion. I ask that each applicant and or their attorney, if present, come up and give a brief synopsis of their anticipated testimony tonight, including the number of witnesses and whether or not they can finish their presentation within 30 minutes. Before we do that, should we do our motion to carry, Beacon?
Yes.
So we had hearing, at our last hearing, we did not finish the case of the application for Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Summit. And do we have a motion to carry this to June 5th?
So moved? What do we say about notice? Is that-
Without-
It's without notice. The applicants did confirm separately that they're waiving the timeframe to act as well. And it, just to be clear, it is a special meeting that we're going to be holding on June 5th, and still at 7:30 start time.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Mr. Steiner?
Yes.
Mr. Yuko?
Yes.
Ms. Chifo?
Yes.
Mr. Nearing?
Yes.
Vice Chair Zahn?
Yes. Okay, so I think we'll, do we need to go over whether they're 30 minutes? We already have an order. Yeah. I think maybe we should just, looking at the way our agenda's laid out, let's start with 15 Greenbrier tonight. So do we have Lee and Christian Starker here?
We're changing the agenda.
Did you want to have everybody address the agenda first, or do you want us to just go ahead? I'm sorry.
I think we could
Just
just,
go in.
just
Jump
go
the gun
ahead.
here.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Be efficient.
Good evening, Ms. Vice Chairwoman and members of the board. Samantha Alfonso of Alfonso and Weber, here on behalf of the Starker family for 15 Greenbrier Drive. That's block 5104, lot 10. The Starkers purchased their home in 2021 and started their true renovation and addition last June. Is that right? Last June. And it's near completion. The only thing they need approval for is for steep slope disturbance to do a small patio to the side. Let me pull my exhibit up so you can see it. This is a rendered landscape plan that was filed. It'll be Exhibit A1. And as you can see, the existing home is sitting to the right, to the east of the property. And the Starkers are looking to put a patio to the west side with some landscaping, like a nice garden area. It will include walls, the maximum 3.8 feet in height, just to level out some of that area. It is includes 2,400 total square footage of steep slope disturbance, over 15%, where about 28.4% of the lot is impacted by steep slopes, over 15%. In the interest of time, I would ask if the board has any questions of me first. Then perhaps we can ask the Starkers, the applicants, to be sworn in to give testimony.
Absolutely. All right.
Thank you.
You're both testifying. If you could raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
And one at a time, please state your name, spell your last name.
Christina Starker, Starker.
And then Lee Starker, Starker.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, you own the property, and as I mentioned, but if you could confirm, you purchased it in 2021,
Yes,
and you started with an addition and improvements around last spring,
yeah, mid to late spring.
but now you're looking to do the patio, is that right?
Yes,
And now you understand that that requires variance approval for steep slope disturbance.
that's right.
Okay. And you're going to be doing a lot of plantings as well?
Yeah,
it
yes.
looks like. What brought you to Summit?
So I basically grew up in Summit. We moved here when I was in third grade. Graduated from Summit High in 1999, and then went off to college, medical school, training. Came back to the Summit area to be in practice at Overlook in Morristown in 2016.
Thank you. Okay. And now you're living close to where you grew up, right?
Around the circle, Oak Ridge, Greenbrier Circle. I grew up at 236 Oak Ridge.
Very close. And did you have a chance to speak with your neighbors now about this application?
Yes,
And did they seem favorable?
yes, everybody seemed quite positive for it.
And you engaged experts to assist you with this application?
We did.
Okay, last question. You had a chance to review the administrative reports of the board's professionals and agencies,
We did.
and subject to comments by your experts, would you agree to be bound by those reports and comments?
Yes.
Great. Okay. That's all I have for them.
All right, do we have any questions from our experts?
Sure, Tom Byers, I'm the planner. Just to ask a few standard questions. So I see your, I guess, illustrative plan that you have on the screens now, shows the orientation of the property, the house located in, we'll call it the bottom right, or I believe it's the easterly corner of the lot. Can you help us understand what drove your decisions as far as where to place the patio, how big to make it, and what you're doing to mitigate any impacts to neighbors? That was a lot. I can go.
No, it's okay. I think we might be able to get it. So I think if you look at the lot and you look at the westerly side of the lot, do we have that rendition of what it currently looks like?
We can, but
Okay.
let's stay with this for now.
Well, the westerly side of the lot currently is predominantly a small wooded area or moderate-sized wooded area. And when we looked at, with our civil engineering expert, when we looked at the actual lot itself, what area would have the least impact to the lot itself as well as the surrounding neighbors, that area was the area of choice in terms of the minimalistic impact to the overall site to accomplish the goal of the patio.
And just by looking at the plan, it appears that you're doing a fair amount of landscaping in that area of the site. Is that accurate? Could you maybe talk about what's going in?
Yeah, so we're trying to make this as, basically just as nice as possible, knowing that we're going to have to do some landscaping to that area, and want to make sure that it's nice to look at, but also appropriate when it comes to the different foliage that is placed in terms of the nativeness of all of it, so.
And he has a landscape designer here will testify as
Yeah.
well.
So what
To
I'm
the
getting at,
specifics.
So someone will be offering a justification.
Yes.
for the technical aspect.
Yep. But thank you, because it might be helpful to have the Starkers discuss a little bit more about the neighbors and that, we can have the engineer discuss it, but your neighbor to the rear and the neighbor to your east, they're pretty close compared to the other neighbor on the west, right?
Yes.
And that neighbor has their driveway right next to the property line,
Yes,
so it's kind of far away from this area, that neighbor.
yes,
This is the furthest from all neighbors, really.
correct.
And the engineer can talk about the exact setback, but it's over 30 feet.
So I ask one
Okay.
question. So you have a landscape designer and an engineer to testify?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, that
Yes.
wasn't clear to me. That's
I apologize, that's my fault.
Okay. Any questions from, no? Any questions?
All right.
Any for the board? Okay. Do you want to have your next witness?
Yes, thank you. You guys can sit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to stand up here? I can get your, okay. I will get your, I got it, yep.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
And please state your name, spell your last name.
Peter Korzen, spelled Korzen.
Thank you, and I know you've appeared before us a number of times, including recently. Any changes to your credentials since the last time you appeared before the board?
No, the licenses are current and good standing.
All right, any questions? questions, or would you like to accept them back once again?
Accept witness.
This is here. Is that separate?
Yeah.
Okay, so awesome.
Okay, so the first plan I'll bring up is the boundary and topographic survey. This is sheet 2 of 3. And you can see the house on the east side of the site with the driveway. To the south of the house and to the north is lawn. And then to the west is a wooded area, which includes most of the mature trees on the site. At the left rear corner of the house is a screened porch that leads to a elevated patio, and there's some walkways or steps that go down to grade from that patio. The topography slopes downward from Greenbrier Drive, and you can see by the shading or solid hatching that there's significant steep slopes. There's actually specifically 7,639 square feet of steep slopes on site. And the surrounding neighborhood is all residential, all contained in the R15 zone. I should mention that the lot area is 27,910 square feet. So the steep slopes represent almost 30% of the lot area. And you can see the large separation on the west side of the house. It's actually 83.9 feet from the house to the property line. There was a question about why the patio was put on the west side of the house. And if you look, there is a gap in the shading or non-steep slopes, and that's why we took advantage of that area. However, it's still not flat enough to create a usable area, so you'll see that on the next plan. Okay, this is the grading and soil erosion control plan, sheet 1 of 3. This actually shows two things. One of them is the phase 1 improvements, which you've already heard about, and that's circled by a bold dashed line, and that includes the rear 2-story addition to the house. Also a deck replacement, and there was some stormwater management for that part of the project, and that's labeled stormwater recharge system number 1. To the west of the house is where the new improvements are proposed, and they're composed of a patio replacement, which is that elevated patio, and also an at-grade patio below that, and that's larger. We've kept the existing steps that lead down from the patio next to the porch down to the at-grade patio. We've also kept the pathway that leads down to the north from the above-grade or elevated patio. To accomplish the usable area, we've had to do some regrading, and you can see that with some of the bold lines with the contour labels. And it creates a nice area. It takes advantage of the non-slope, steep slope area. However, there are some steep slopes that couldn't be avoided. The disturbance couldn't be avoided. And there's actually 3 areas. One of them is to the south of the at-grade patio, and that's due to a boulder wall that's going in with some regrading. That's the top level or level closest to the road. In the center is the actual at-grade patio area itself with some walls. And there's some steps that lead down to grade near the existing swing set. And the third and final area of steep slope disturbance is all due to the stormwater management system, which is labeled stormwater recharge system number 2. And that is the same type of a chamber that was used for the phase 1 improvements. However, it's a series of 3 instead of one single chamber. As far as drainage goes with the new proposal, we're proposing to install 2 yard inlets, down gradient of the at-grade patio. They will collect runoff from the patio itself, the new steps that lead down to that area, and the existing stone steps. That's a total of 1,015 square feet of tributary area that gets picked up by that system. That all gets conveyed to the underground stormwater chamber system. Again, that's labeled stormwater system number 2. There are some trees, as you can see by the X's on the plan, that are proposed to be removed. The plan indicates 11 trees to be removed, but it's actually 10, because there is one 27-inch tree that's the southernmost tree that's labeled with an X at the boulder wall near the road, and that's already been taken down, so there's only 10 trees that are proposed to be removed.
And thank you for reminding me of that. That was because it was dead, right?
That's my understanding, yes. Yep. So with this new plan, you have 2,100 square feet of steep slope disturbance. The old plan, or phase 1, had 300. So you combine the two, you have a total of 2,400 square feet of steep slope disturbance. So that is the variance, and you can see that in the zoning data table in the upper right of the plan. If there aren't any questions, I can move forward to the engineer's review letter. This is the memo prepared by Marie Raffe, dated March 21st, 2025. And I think, reading through this, the only items that really specifically need to be addressed are 7A, 7B, 7C, and 7D. I'll just go through those individually. 7A is a question about the calculation provided on sheet number 3 of the plan set for stormwater system number 2. And that indicates that there's only one chamber. That's a typo. There's actually 3 chambers, so what's shown on the plan is accurate. Item number 7B, there's a question about the square footage of tributary area that goes to system number 2. And it is 1,015 square feet. Inadvertently, the existing stone steps from the elevated patio were not included. So as shown on sheet 3, the tributary area is less than what it should be. However, with the 1,015 square foot accurate area, the system does have sufficient capacity per city standards. Item 7C, there's a question about how the system will collect runoff from the tributary surfaces. And as I explained, there's 2 yard inlets proposed. They're about 8 feet from the lower boulder wall, bottom of steps. And they are probably 20 feet apart. They collect runoff, as I mentioned, from the at-grade patio, the steps leading down to the swing set area, and the existing stone steps. All of that gets collected and conveyed to the chamber system. Item number 7D, there's a recommendation to add a water quality feature to the drainage system. It's an excellent idea. Right now we have proposed just solid bottoms in these yard inlets. So what we'd like to do is add sumps, which will collect debris, and also have them open below that with a stone bottom, so that'll allow some infiltration before it gets to the chamber system. I think the rest of these are just statements of fact and understanding. And as you heard, the applicant has agreed to all of these. And I don't believe there's anything in the planning memo that is engineering related that I saw.
There was a question about the approved grading permit. I know you went through that a bit, but they actually haven't installed that yet, right?
No, I was actually out there doing the soil test last week, and the addition is substantially complete, but they still have to install the stormwater management system.
That's typically the last thing that goes in, so
Yes.
it's supposed to go in actually soon.
Yes.
And it will, but
Mhm.
it's in the soil testing?
Yes, it's at
Okay.
the lab right now, yep. Mhm. So I'm open for questions at this time.
Any questions from our experts?
Not from engineering, we used our script, so, I think just from a commentary standpoint, I think it was your testimony that there's steep slopes impacting essentially most of the rear yard and the side yard, so no matter where you put this, you can disturb in some amount of steep slope. Is that
Yeah, especially the rear yard, it's probably more difficult back there. We kind of took advantage of a pocket on the west side.
The forester the city forester had a comment about whether or not the regrading in the front yard could be pushed further into the lot, sort of along the line of the front, required front yard setback line. Is that something you guys?
That was to try to save that tree that doesn't actually exist anymore. We did look at it, we realized that tree is gone,
Okay.
so
Was that the only, or did you speak to him directly as far as the reasoning?
I did not speak to him
Okay.
directly.
Just wondering if that
Um,
was.
I believe our landscape
There
architect
is
did,
a-
so he can
Mhm.
testify about that. I would just like to mention that if that was pushed back, it kind of defeats the purpose of creating the flat usable area on the west side.
So I just have a follow-up question on that, because I'm not sure what Mr. Lenson meant, but it sounded like his commentary was more than just that one tree in front. He said it's, does not appear necessary to remove trees or regrade land in the front yard. So is that really more than just that one tree, or are we not sure? Or did your landscape designer speak to Mr. Lenson in
The
detail about that?
landscape designer will speak to
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the
I
board?
do have some. In fact, I need some clarification regarding your erosion control drawing, number 1 of 3. First of all, you're referring to 2 revisions. I could,
Two what? I'm
2
sorry.
revisions? You have 2 revisions on it?
Yes,
1 and 2,
yes.
right? Could you show me where these revisions are?
Yeah, actually, this is just this plan was carried forward from the original Phase 1 part of the project, which was a non-variance application. So they didn't even have to come here for Phase
So
1.
they are
So the
not shown
first
on
one
this
is the
Right.
drawing.
So,
Okay.
yeah, so the original date is the first plan for the addition. None of what we're talking about tonight was proposed. And then the first revision also was for that part of the project, for the Phase 1 portion, just the addition.
Okay, and
The-
that included the 300 already approved?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so revision 1 approved is 300.
Yes.
Okay, and second, if we go to the other side of the, where the patios are, I see here that you're indicating the area 2100, and you're referring to the patio, the upper patio and the lower one, right? Could you tell me the area of each?
The area of the 2 patios? So, the rear patio without the deck is 223 square feet. And the side patio, the new patio with the walk-in steps is 1,015 square feet.
The upper one.
The upper one without the deck is 223 square feet.
And that's very close to the road.
To the
To
road?
the, yeah, Greenbrier Drive.
No. This is the rear deck. The rear patio next to the deck.
This is,
Show him
but
where.
it looks, this is the smaller one,
Use green.
right?
Tap
So,
twice,
okay.
I think. Yeah.
So, let's see. See that?
I have to make it darker. Sorry. This one.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the,
Smaller one?
that's the smaller patio.
rear.
And it is,
That's the
what
300
was the
square
square foot?
Yes, 300 and, oh, I lost it, let's see. 223 square feet.
What's really the purpose of the upper one?
You walk out from a screen porch onto the patio. If you look, let's see if I can color it in. So right here is the screen porch that I mentioned at the left rear of the house that I just outlined in green. And then you walk out,
No,
to the
that's
north
not
of
what I'm talking about. If we're looking at the left bottom
He's asking
corner,
why I have
This is the area I'm talking to.
Okay, so yeah,
About-
that's the at-grade patio. Yeah, so that's not elevated. That's, the whole purpose of that is to create a usable outside area.
That's a 97 elevation, isn't it?
That's where they're looking to regrade.
It's about 95.86 at the upper level and 95.54 at the
So
lower
it's,
level.
it's an excavation area here.
It's-
because the contour
yeah,
shows-
it is an excavation area at the upper side, but it's also a fill area at the bottom of it.
At the other side.
So that if you
correct.
look at the center of it, it's pretty much at grade.
So that's not really, that does not serve as a entry point or exit.
Not for the porch, no, the elevated patio is for the porch exit.
I don't see where,
That's the one that I
where's
just
that
outlined. Okay, so I'll draw it as you're looking at it. This is the screen porch. So that's part of the house, but it's a
Right.
screen porch. So you walk out, the door is this triangle right here, that's where you walk out to the back. And you can see where it says modified patio, right here.
okay.
That's where you walk out, that's all elevated.
All right, this is within the 300 approved, previously approved area. I'm talking about this area here.
That's not a patio. That
What's
cross,
this here?
that diagonal hatching is steep slope disturbance,
Okay, what for?
to create a flat usable area for the lot. So if you see the background contours,
Yeah,
they're actually, even though that's not a steep slope area, and that's one of the reasons why we tried to take advantage of that, it is steep. It's too steep to really
but it's not
utilize.
usable, so why are we disturbing it for non-usable purposes?
Because the property is encumbered by steep slopes, and there really is no flat usable area outside of the house on site.
But we're creating enough patio area, and is
It's
it
just-
going to be used for any purpose here?
The elevated patio is small, and it's attached to the house, and it's not
I
connected with the
think
ground
their
at all.
attached
three
to the
daughters
house.
are
It's very far
here,
from
and
the
that's who
house.
really wants to use it.
I'm sorry.
Right, it's really for their kids and their family to
Yes.
have a safe, level space to use. So we could,
Up there, closer to the road?
Sorry, maybe I can help. So this is all on the back side of the house currently.
Correct, yeah.
It's the back left of the house. It's a screened-in patio that steps out to an already pre-existing elevated patio that's quite small. That said, we wanted to utilize the only real area that we felt was appropriate on the property to the west of the property, which allowed us the capability of putting in a patio where we could have a fire pit and actually use the property for recreational purposes. As you can see with all the steep slope, there really isn't a great location, short of the front yard, that has any real degree of flatness to it that's truly usable. So to your point, we don't want to have the kids running out in the front yard close to the street. So by having
but
this
the
off
str-
to the side,
Sorry,
into
the
the
road is
rear.
down here, right? So this area is closer to the road, except it is, it's below the road level.
There's no screen.
it's below the road level. It's well within the setback of the 35 feet that the town requires. And it's actually just adjacent, the majority of it is just adjacent to the actual dwelling.
60 feet, it looks like to me, right, from the street, the actual patio area where we're expecting them to play.
Yeah, I could get my hard copy to scale it, but I just want to point out, we're not required to have a patio 35 feet. 15 feet is the minimum required setback for a
There's
patio.
no
I don't-
patio
yeah.
here, right?
I
I'm not talking
believe-
about the patio.
This is not about the patio, I think if I'm following you correctly, we're talking about this area right here that has nothing to do with the patio. We have had comments from the Environmental Commission saying, why do we have to remove all of the old trees, the shade trees? So right here, you have like 2 shade trees being removed, and we're flattening this steep slope here, and it does not seem to be associated with the patio at all. It just seems to be an extra area of excavation. Is that,
Exactly
Yeah,
what
right.
I was referring to.
So-
Thank you.
And I also suspect that's kind of what John Linson was trying to get at too, with the no need to regrade the front yard comment.
Yeah, I didn't speak with Mr. Linson, but I just want to point out that that area is actually the play area that's what the target of the whole project is, with the patio. You know, it's to provide a play area along with the patio and the swing set, and to flatten that out as much as possible.
The swing set is already there,
Right.
right?
the swing set is in a different location than right here? This,
It's right behind.
It's down- it's-
It's as it's
yeah,
marked
we
here.
were,
So is it being moved?
No.
Swing set?
It is
No.
not.
So, yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree, like, I don't understand either. Here's the patio, here's the swing set. What is this?
That's to be a graded out area for playing for the kids to run around on.
In addition
Grass.
to the swing set and the
Yes,
patio, which is.
because the rest of the yard is actually quite steep and sloped, and they don't have capability really running on
So
it.
it's gonna be a flat grassy area.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we're gonna obviously try to incorporate a lot of, you know, and I think Steve will comment to this in terms of the landscaping, to try to make it as lush as we can and reinstitute a lot of the native trees and even shade trees and things like that to make sure that we're fulfilling our requirement for the community.
So there's two parts, there's the patio and the area, the flattened area, this application.
and then the area where the groundwater system is, that looks like that's being also
That
flattened.
wasn't part of,
Right here, this, right?
this is part of this one too?
That's part of steep slope disturbance there too, right? Anything that's cross-hatched is.
Exactly.
Right. Well, I have a question, you know, since we're talking about all the steep slopes and I know there was a choice of, there's a lot of space here, so this could be a place for the patio, but when I was at the property today, one of the things that I noticed was, you know, on the lower level in the back, you have like a triple sliding door, and there are, or maybe, I think it was sliding door, anyway, there's, in the picture, there are 3 pavers that kind of go nowhere, so you walk out onto 3 pavers and then the grass, and there's a huge area over there that's been disturbed, right, for the construction. It also, to me, looks like given that it's also been already disturbed, but the flow of it coming out of the house, did you consider that area for a patio? I mean, it looks like you wouldn't have as much steep slope disturbance, and there's an exit from the house to it. So it seems kind of like a good location.
Drop down from there.
Right in back of the driveway, there's a.
I'm
yes.
not, yeah, I'm not talking about the driveway. I'm
Even,
talking
even to
about,
the west of the driveway. You can see the shading, it just drops straight off from there.
They would have to do much
Um,
more grading back there, right?
Mhm.
To the rear of the property
Right.
than they are here.
Right. The whole backyard,
It's
if you,
much
if,
steeper.
if you took the driveway, the back of the driveway, and basically extended it all the way to the left, to the west, that's like a uniform steep slope, just about the whole thing, all the way to the back property
well,
line.
what I'm seeing here is an 89-foot elevation when you walk out on the pavers, and if you go almost, you know, out to your dotted line where improvements have been made, that's 83 feet. So that's a 6-foot grade over, you know, a very long distance, versus over here where you have the patio, you have like 96, you know, I think you have as much, if not more, steepness in this area as you do here.
Yeah, but when you walk out those double doors, and you're correct, it is a short distance, you can see that 10-foot minimum dimension to the stormwater management system. It goes a little bit further than that, but that's such a small area, that really can't be used for playing or anything like that.
Can I have a couple minutes to see if maybe we can push it back? I think we only need a few feet to push it to the 35 feet.
Push,
Right.
push what to the
Can I
35
take
feet?
5 minutes perhaps?
That would be
to
helpful
speak
for me
with-
anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that okay?
Your call, Madam Chair.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of torn about 5 minutes versus starting another case and pushing this one to the end then. I just, because I'm in the interest of keeping things moving.
I think I can say then that we're looking to push it to the 35 feet. It looks like it's only 3 more feet.
What,
and
what,
it
can
should
you
be
show
able
us
to
exactly, I
accomplish.
don't know what you're looking to push, I'm sorry, I'm not following what you're looking to push the 35 feet.
I understand. Is the microphone here? I understand the board is looking to have us push the boulder wall in the front yard back a few feet to comply with John Linson's comments of requesting it to be 35 minimum in the front yard. And the applicant has said that he's willing to accept that and revise the plans accordingly.
So where approximately would that be? Because I think I might be viewing it differently than you are, where the 35-foot line is.
Okay, so if you
Looks
look.
like more than a few feet to me.
If you, yeah, it is more than a few feet. If you look at that plan, you could see there's a boxed out area. It says steep slope disturbance, new area, 2,100 square feet. Right there, right in the middle of that box, you'll see a dashed line. That's the 35-foot setback, right there. So that's quite a bit of it.
It's got 15, 20 feet, right?
15, 20 feet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This line, is that what
Yeah.
you're saying? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
So-
that would eliminate most of that steep slope in the front yard.
It would,
Yeah.
it would.
And then the tree that, is this tree that says 27 inches? You had referenced to 23, that's the one that's
already
gone?
been removed.
That's removed.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, the 35, that'd make me feel a lot better. I can't speak for everybody, but.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Should we move to the landscaper then?
So have they agreed to move it back? Is that what's happening here?
That's what I'm hearing.
Yes,
Or are we taking a 5-minute recess to let them talk about it?
I think they agreed to move it back. Is that correct?
Applicant?
Quite a bit.
Is that a condition they're willing to accept?
Can we have 5 minutes, please? I apologize. for the confusion.
Yeah, yeah,
Keep it going.
I think, so it's a motion to, what do we don't need a motion, just move on to?
Yeah,
Let's make it a
if you
real
want
5
to
minutes.
just push it to, do the next
Yeah,
matter on and bring you back after that one.
okay, that's, all right, so we'll temporarily pause this one, and then we will move to 47 Oakland.
Thank
Is that
you.
right? Thank you.
So, I guess.
You want your- Yeah.
Just give me 1 second, please.
Are we ready?
Ready?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board, James Weber of Alfonso and Weber on behalf of the applicants, Jennifer Zaka and Hector Rosenkrantz, living at 47 Oakland Place. This is an application to add an addition to the existing one-story addition that exists with the property that will create 314 square feet more of floor area. It will extend the one-story addition, which is around 5 feet off the side lot line, up to accommodate that addition, and that requires a setback variance. They're not increasing it except by going up vertically. There's also a building coverage associated with the 45 feet of a cantilevered portion of that second story, so nominal. But there is, again, a wrinkle with this 1895 home. So right away, I was there going, this is a very nice application, but it turns out that in 2005, this board had granted a variance that allowed for the lot coverage to be at 43.9, or 47.9. The proposal turned out to have not accommodated that, and as a result, the discussion was, how did that come to be? In 2021, during the pandemic, the Jennifer and Hector contacted, I think it was DeBa Landscape Services, to put in a patio. When they did, Jennifer asked and said, we need a permit. And the contractor said, no, you do not. As a result, the patio was installed without benefit of municipal approval. As a result, at the original hearing, there weren't enough board members, and we took the adjournment to today, but that allowed Jennifer and Hector to speak to their experts. They spoke to the landscape architect, and they spoke to the engineer, and they said, can you reduce the amount of lot coverage? So the amount of lot coverage is actually going to be less now than what is existing, but still doesn't get you all the way back to 47.9. It's, I believe, around 100 and, I think, 86 square feet over. And of that amount, 46, of course, is the overhang. So you're talking about 140 square feet over what was previously permitted by this board. There should be distributed to the, can I have a seat, Madam Chairwoman?
Yes.
Thanks. There should be distributed the, let's see if I can bring it up. The comments from the email, and there we go, let's see if that comes up. And so I brought up for the board, and this was intended by us to have been presented to you previously with the revised landscape plan and the revised engineering plans. Through our oversight, we did not include this. And so, it should be showing up. Let's see if I can. There we go. And so you have here the exchange of emails. One's from Jennifer to Pamela. Thanks, I'll review this with my husband this evening. Could you please update the proposal? And then she goes on, and also, hyphen, you've confirmed that no permits are required for the hardscaping, the patio. And Pamela DeBa responds, the lilac is in place of the camellia by the garage. I'll check that on the website. Thank you for reminding me to change that on the drawing. No permits are required for this project. Okay, great. I'll sign anything you need. Confirm that with the deposit would be the same. Thank you. Now, Jennifer and Hector understand, even though their express request to say, do we need a permit, was responded in the negative, they understand that they, as the property owners, are ultimately responsible. And they took that responsibility seriously, and that's why they've directed the engineer and the landscape architect to respond appropriately and revise the plans. Because this is a small lot, 8,500 square feet, and it's narrow, and remember, the lot coverage is also due to the fact that when you look at the let me get that. plan that's been prepared. Oops, wrong one. That when we look at the landscape plan that's been revised, you'll see that the area that's been removed is on the right-hand side. They've narrowed the driveway, but the driveway itself contributes to that entire lot coverage because you have a detached garage at the rear of the property, and as a result, all of the pavement for the driveway to extend to the rear is what contributes to the lot coverage. In terms of the house itself, you have an 1895 home. It's on one of the two smallest lots on Oakland Place. Some of the homes next to it are 17,000 square feet in terms of lot area. And it's not going to be the biggest nor the smallest on that street. It's going to fit, and they are keeping that front facade of this 1895 home consistent. And the rear construction that's been designed by Steve Hochstein is one that's going to improve the back of the house. Since you have a one-story addition for an 1895 Queen Anne, there's a deficiency there. And so you're going to have an attractive addition to the rear of the property that is going to enhance the beauty of the property, the functionality, and it's 314 square feet. Unless the board has any questions of me, I'll call Jennifer and Hector, then we'll have Andrew Clark, we have Steve Hochstein, and then we have the landscape architect, Ed Clark.
And Mr. Weber, we discussed that email chain, we'll consider that marked as A1.
Thank you, Mr. Ball.
Are there any questions from the experts or from the board? Mr. Weber? No? Okay, so we'll move to your next witness.
If I could have Hector and Jennifer come up.
All right, and if you could each raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter to the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
And one at a time, please state your name, spell your last name.
Jennifer Zaka, Z-O-C-C-A.
Hector Rosecrans, Rosekrans.
Thank you.
All right, Jennifer and Hector. Jennifer, where are you from?
I'm born and raised in Summit here.
And where are your children? You have 4 children, don't you?
Yes, they're at home with my parents who also live here. They live on Ashland.
All right, so you've lived in Summit your entire life. Hector, how about you?
I'm from Oakland, but Oakland, California,
All right.
a little further away.
And you brought an application with regard to the property before this board to improve your property by adding a second-story addition. Is that correct?
That's correct?
Yes.
And you own the property in question.
Yes, we do.
Okay. What's the purpose of the application that you've brought before the board?
The purpose of the application is to approve a variance that will allow us to expand the second floor of the house. As you mentioned, our house has a lot of verticality. There's a beautiful first floor. The second floor, where all the bedrooms are, and we like to be on the same floor as our kids, is tight. There's the two of us. There's four kids, and we'd just like to have a bit more room there to to have an extra bedroom for the kids as they grow, and just a bit more space for us to grow into.
And you're going to be keeping the front porch and the, it looks like it was the original door on the front.
Yeah, the original door, we want to keep the whole front facade, the bay windows, the stained glass in the front. We love the house. It's I grew up in an old house, something that's really always mattered to me. But yeah, we just want a little bit more room to kind of expand and fit our family into.
And that foyer actually has a coat room, and the kids going to school room as well, and what else?
Yeah, there's let's say we have swim bags, we have not lacrosse bags, softball bags, all this kids stuff for school, and whatever else happens to be Seasonally, it varies a bit, but.
Now, I've touched upon the fact that the patio was built without a permit, and you've recognized, but the board will need to hear that even though DeBa Landscaping said you didn't need a permit, you understand you're ultimately responsible for that. So it would be appropriate for you to address the board with regard to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the first thing I'll say is we made a mistake, and I apologize for that. I know my wife feels the same way. We're very much by the book. We want to do things the right way, and yeah, we realized we made a mistake there, and you know, it's really important for us that we rectify that. That you know, that we get back to what you guys are comfortable with for the lot coverage for the house. I think that the plan that we've come up with is great. I like taking a bit area out of the rest of the driveway. It gives us more space for landscaping along the side. But yeah, that's where we're at. We absolutely recognize that this is our responsibility, that we made the mistake by taking the landscaper's word for it.
You've also proposed to upgrade your grounds. You're adding the landscaping. You're going to repair or repave the driveway as well?
Yeah, we definitely want to repave the driveway. It feels like it's due for that, and there's a few other projects. I don't know if there's anything you want to speak to. Landscaping, just kind of general improvements. We have done a bit of landscaping on the front end of the house, but I think there's some more we'd like to do, especially along the side.
And you've read the reports of the staff with regard to the application?
Yes, we have.
Yes.
And are you agreeing to be bound by those comments, subject to the comments of your experts?
Yes, we are.
And have you spoken to your neighbors?
Yes.
And without repeating what they said, did you come away with a sense of how they felt toward the application?
Yeah, we walked around and people were very supportive.
I have nothing further, Madam Chairwoman.
Any questions from our experts? Any questions from the board? I have one. The fire pit, it had a cover on it. Is it a gas fire pit?
No.
Okay, so it's not plumbed or anything like that?
No,
It's
just
just a wood,
Just
okay.
wood. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Then I would ask that Steve Hochstein be called to the stand to be sworn in to give testimony in this matter.
Oh, actually, I do have one
did
more
have
question. I'm so sorry.
I did have one
Yeah,
question
go ahead.
before we, there's a generator in the front yard.
Mm.
It's not
Yeah.
screened. How did it get there? Was that before your occupancy?
No.
Let me answer
Go
that,
ahead.
if you don't mind, Mr.
Please.
Steiner.
I
That was
I
a
do
point-
mind. I'd like to hear from them.
All right, very good.
So we, it was, I think, following the power outage that we had, was it the hurricane? The generator.
Oh, yeah.
So it was following the power outage that we had. I think it was, which hurricane was that?
Irene,
I think it was Irene. We talked to Arjun, who does basically all our plumbing work, about getting a generator. I know we got permits for that. Honestly,
was he asking why it was in the front?
my understanding of that whole process was that it was gonna go in the back, and we showed up and they put it in the front, but
Oh,
is there
no,
anything? You talked to them,
when we
okay.
got the permits, they asked us to put it in there. We actually
That's,
wanted it in the
we
back.
wanted it in the back, that's what it
And
was.
they asked us to put it in the front, so then we had to put landscaping around it.
Just to clarify, I think they are permitted in the front yard so long as they meet the front yard setback requirement. I believe, trying to confirm that, but I believe that's the
Aren't they
case.
supposed to be screened?
They do have to be screened, so the question, it's
I
not
tripped over
screened,
the
to your
darn
point. So the question might be, are you proposing to screen the generator that's in a conforming location in the front yard?
That was not in our proposal. If you guys want us to do it, I'm happy to do it.
And I just looked back to Mr. Clark, the landscape architect, and he nodded, it can be done.
Perfect.
But this
Okay.
was a point too.
The other question I have for you is, as I was standing looking into your backyard because I didn't want to open your fence, there seems to be an attachment to the house there. I don't know if it's a shed or if it's a recycling bin or what it is, but that's additional. Is that included in your calculations?
That's the freestanding shed there. It's our kids' bikes go in there. But it's
a what?
It's for our kids' bikes and scooters and stuff, and it's a freestanding, I think we got it on Amazon, it's a plastic thing.
It was like a garbage shed that we.
It was a
No,
garbage shed for a little while.
it-
It sits on the driveway itself, so I don't think that's.
So is that additional coverage?
Not if it's sitting on the driveway, and it's a temporary structure. And ordinarily, the
Doesn't look
temporary
very
structures.
temporary, sir.
Well,
Oh, it's just like a little plastic garbage bin.
Yeah, it's not at all connected to the house.
I'm
at
not
all.
sure we're talking about the same thing. It's
Okay.
directly right past your fence
Yeah,
on the left
directly-
side.
This,
On the left side, that, yes, sir,
Okay.
that is, that's
If
correct.
that's what it is, that's what it is.
just one point, I'm all in favor of playground swing sets, but I think that swing set is only about 6 feet off the property line, and I think it's supposed to be 15 as a setback, so it's existing. I don't know if we want to add that, like a variance for the location of it, just to,
Well, I know the ordinance clarified that in 2019, that it had to be 15 feet. I'm not sure if that was a requirement prior to that. It may have only been 4, I don't know off the top of my head. Point being that if the the swing set was there prior to 2019, it may have been in a conforming location, and by virtue of the ordinance change, it may now be non-conforming. I just don't have an answer to that.
we certainly would appreciate the amendment to have it treated as a variance, so it can remain in that location, regardless of if predated the ordinance or was otherwise pre-existing.
I mean, it backs up to someone else's garage, so I don't think the location is impacting a neighbor particularly in terms of the setback, but it probably is something that should be just put
Do
on.
you know how long it's been there?
Yeah, we installed it.
We
again
installed it, but I don't remember when.
2021. That would be, I
Maybe
guess,
a good idea
maybe
just to add.
2020. I would add.
Yeah.
And the distance from the property line was 6
It's
feet?
probably about 6 feet.
Approximately 6 feet.
That
Sounds about right.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay.
Just to be clear, the shielding of the generators is not really an option, it's a requirement.
Yep, I understand.
They understand, they agreed to that as a condition of this application as well.
I have a quick question. When did you say you purchased the house?
2019, August. I think it actually closed in July or maybe even June, but
Yeah, we moved
summer
it on. We moved it in August.
2019.
Yeah.
So when was the hurt? Oh, it's just, doesn't matter, but
It
the hurt.
was in 2021. I know, because it was right after we had a baby.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to the
Thank you.
landscaper.
If I could have Mr. Steve Hochstein sworn in to give testimony in this matter. That's it.
Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Stephen Hochstein, S-T-E-V-E-N, last name H-O-C-K-S-T-E-I-N.
Thank you, and once again, I know you've appeared before us a number of times, including recently. Any changes to your credentials since the last time you were here?
No.
I imagine the board would like to accept you back once again.
Yes.
Mr. Hochstein, are you familiar with the application that's currently pending before the board?
Yes.
And how did you achieve that familiarity?
I designed the addition on the house.
Okay. And you're familiar with the City of Summit and its Development Regulations Ordinance?
Yes.
And can you describe for the board the proposal that you have that's before the board?
Sure.
Could you grab the mic?
Yeah, can you use the microphone that's right there?
Yeah.
There's one right
The
next to it.
handheld.
Oh, there.
Just use the little switch to turn it on and you can grab it.
Okay, sorry. Okay. So what we're proposing is a small addition on the back of the house. The second floor currently has, I'm sorry. The second floor currently has 2 children's bedrooms and 1 hall bathroom. We are not proposing any changes on the first floor. And what we'd like to do is add another bedroom to have a total of 3 bedrooms, and then we'll have 2 bathrooms for the children to share on the second floor. We
So
are-
there'll be a total of 4 bedrooms, though? That includes the primary
There'll
and
be
then
4
3 for the
bedrooms
children?
on the second floor total, right. Our intention is not to touch the primary bedroom in the front and the primary bath.
You're not touching the front of the house at all?
No, not at all. Okay. The addition is going over the rear of the house. And currently, the rear elevation, actually, my personal opinion is it's not very attractive. It has this tiny little gable sticking out. And what we want to do is balance out the back of the house. And we think we're making it more attractive by doing this. At the same time, we're making the second floor more functional. Unfortunately, because of the existing setback on the side of the house, we're extending a non-conforming setback.
And that's at the 5 feet?
Correct, on the left side of the house.
Now, you're showing a hatching, if you will, or a gray area, dark gray on the top of the structure. What's the material that's proposed?
We want to match everything that's there. It's going to be cedar shingles and trim. Our goal is to make it so that you wouldn't even know the addition was done.
And so when you say cedar, is it going to be natural cedar?
I believe there's natural cedar on the house, so we're going to match it.
Do Jennifer and Hector know that you're going to have natural grade cedar that you're going to be taking care of on your house?
Same as what we have already.
Our intention is not to remove any of the existing siding. We're just going to seamlessly add on and paint it to match.
And I indicated that the amount of the addition is 314 square feet,
Correct.
and that the increase in building coverage is due to the overhang at the back?
Yes, there's a small little cantilever at the back. There's no change to the building. It's on the ground. It just, the way Summit defines building coverage, they include cantilevers.
And I have nothing further, Madam Chairwoman.
Any questions from our experts?
No, just that in our review memo, I had questioned the FAR calculation. I believe I caught up with Mr. Hoxton's office and confirmed that the calculation is in fact accurate. And I would just note that HPC reviewed this and agreed with Mr. Hoxton's conclusion about architectural consistency.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
I think it's a great addition and a good application of,
Questions?
sorry.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Then I would ask that Andrew Clark be called to the stand to give testimony.
Oh,
on this
you know
matter.
what? I'm so, I'm remiss. I never asked if there was public here that wanted to ask questions too, right? Is there any public here for this case so that we know if we should be asking the public for question or comments? No, okay.
Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Andrew Clark, C-L-A-R-K-E.
Thank you, and once again, appeared before us a number of times, including recently. Any changes to your credentials since the last time you were here?
Not since last month, no.
I imagine we'll accept you back once again.
Thank you.
Mr. Clark, you're familiar with the applications pending before the board?
I am.
And how did you achieve that familiarity?
I was retained to conduct the survey and prepare the grading plan for this project, so I did both of those things.
And then, with regard to the stormwater management, you were able to review the 2005 application, I believe, that had previously been approved by this board?
Yes, and there wasn't the complete document, but I saw some pieces, relevant pieces of the permitting that was carried out after that application that indicated the drywall that I've shown on the plan.
And do you think that you'll be able to tie into that drywall with the additional improvements?
Yes, that was one of the comments and suggestions in the engineering review. Given the size of the drywall system, it would appear that we could manage the entire roof area, even though I'm not sure why it was sized so large in that 2007 permitting package, because it was sized to accommodate the whole house, but only appeared to be tying in the rear roof leaders. So we can accommodate the entire roof area with that. We, of course, will need to verify its location and condition and make sure that what was installed matches what was on the plan. And that would be something we would do as a course of construction.
Madam Chairwoman, Jennifer and Hector had agreed that they had read the staff comments and would be subject to any of those recommendations set forth in those staff comments. And that would include, I think, if the board were to approve the application, a specific call out to having the existing system reviewed, identified, and make sure it has that capacity in the event that it does need to be enlarged or cleaned or whatever needs to be taken to honor the statements that have been made by Mr. Clark.
Right, and if need be, it could be augmented if we find that the installed size was a little less than what that plan had depicted. We could modify that so that it has the capacity.
I have nothing further.
Can I just confirm the lot coverage that we are down to? I believe you noted 46.1% in your letter, Mr. Weber, and I'd just like to get that confirmed.
That's right. That's where we're at now, is 46.1%.
Great.
That was my question also. So with the addition of the cantilever, is that being increased or are you taking away from something?
So there are a couple of things that got done. I do try to detail as best I can and break it down into the appropriate categories on the coverage calculations below the site data chart. But the cantilever is included in the building coverage calculations, and accordingly, of course, it carries into the lot coverage calculations. So the gains that we made from the original application were to the right side of the driveway as you get to the back end of the dwelling and leading up to the garage. There was an area between the fence and the proposed curb line that I'm showing at 11 feet that was paved, and so we're bringing that back. I think it was actually shown the way I have it depicted now on the 2007 plans that I reviewed. So it was supposed to be that way originally, and that's what we're going to get to with this proposal.
Got it. You do spell it out on your plan, so thanks for confirming. Just looking at your plan, there's a tax map up in the top right-hand corner.
Mhm.
Could you just talk about how this particular lot compares to other lots on that block of Oakland Place?
Yeah, so it's as Mr. Weber had indicated, it's specifically along Oakland in this block. We're one of the smallest lots. The other small lot for this stretch of Oakland is directly across the street from us. Both our lot and that lot are 50 feet wide, where the remaining lots are 65 or 100 or 70, 75 feet wide. So they're all substantially larger in lot area than our property.
Thanks. I have nothing.
So what was the final lot coverage number? I didn't quite catch it.
46.1.
So it's
Percent?
accurate on this
So
plan.
as
Yeah,
written in the zoning table on the plan, is that
right.
Correct.
accurate?
Okay.
Correct, with the latest revised plan that was April 1st, 2025. Not a joke.
And Mr. Burns, you agree with that, or have you not verified that, or?
Mr. Clark, so I would agree with Mr. Clark if he's done I mean, there is a calculation that he shows below it, so
Okay.
assuming he's done that correctly, I think it's fair.
And is everything else, I didn't compare everything exactly. Is everything else in your report line up with his, as far as you know,
I have no further questions. I'll go
in terms of the
through
variances?
my comments real quick.
I have a question, Tom.
Yeah.
Because I know that in Summit, we count like gravel as impervious, right, like in a driveway. This is not showing up on the survey here, but if you're facing the garage, to the left of the garage, there's a seating area, like a gravel seating area with some stones around it. How does that get
Well,
counted in Summit?
My
It's
understanding,
not, I mean, it's not on the
yeah, my
plan.
understanding, and I worked through this a lot with Krista, because there was a change to the ordinance with regards to the stone. And my understanding has always been, and in working through that, when the rules changed, that pea gravel pathways and sitting areas weren't actually considered as impervious coverage. any of the like driveway areas where you have traveled and vehicular movement on them are considered impervious coverage. So I haven't counted that area that you just described for that reason.
Okay. I can't say how,
Yeah, I think it came down to a matter of how the definition, you know, in the definitions and the specific wording.
It's not compacted.
Right, and I think that's, there, I've run into this in a couple of towns. Some it sort of came along later. Some towns did it for two reasons. One is that over time, the stone gets compacted and becomes much more like pavement and non-impervious surfaces. And then the second reason is that sometimes in other towns, they put stone driveways in and suddenly it would become paved. And so at some point they said, well, if that's how it's gonna be, then we'll just call it all, you know, coverage. I'm not saying that's what drove Summit's reasoning, but I think it has more to do with the compaction effect that does take place over time.
can you tell us a little bit about the
So the
landscaping?
question is, to our attorney, is it impervious or is it not?
I'm scrolling to the definitions as we speak.
Okay.
While we
I
look
think
for that, can we,
And how, and
yeah.
the quick question is, how much, if it is, does that add?
Well, I'm not sure about the area you're describing. I think you're describing something along the side of the garage,
Right.
right?
Mhm. It has like
On
a
the
table
right
and a
side
couple
or on
of
the-
chairs.
On the playset
Right,
side or?
right behind the house.
Yeah, the area that I'm talking about was next to the garage, between the garage and the swing set, and there is a
Right.
table and some chairs there.
There's a lot of stuff back there.
Um,
Yeah, I didn't even delineate it on the survey.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the boulders, I would have expected it to be on the survey, because that's something that typically would be there. But, do you have an answer?
I
Yeah,
love the-
so-
I love the law. Go ahead.
So I have it in front of me. Lot coverage includes building area, it includes parking areas, loading areas, driveways, and other areas for vehicular use regardless of the surface material. Also includes all patios, swimming pools, and fountains regardless of the surface material, and then any impervious surface. So under that, I think if this is
It's a
just for
patio.
seating, it's not for vehicular use, it's not technically a patio, it probably would not fall into those definitions of lot coverage.
It sounds like a patio. If it has seating and a table on it, that's what a patio is, isn't it?
Well,
Well, yeah, but I think the idea is that when the rain falls, what happens with the rain? And so when it goes into this pea gravel area, typically it's not running off like it does from pavement or even brick pavers.
There's a lot here, and I want to make sure that that we're accurate. And
Depending on what the sub-base material is, would determine if this is actually going to perk or not. I haven't seen it, I haven't seen a detail of what's there or anything. So the pea gravel may be on top, just what's underneath.
Right.
I guess that's
If I
why I
can-
asked the question, what's the percentage if we count it?
I spoke to Jennifer and Hector, they're gonna remove it.
Okay. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit of the landscaping? I don't know if you were going to cover that, but there's some, where is this?
We have Ed Clark, the
Yeah,
landscape
it's-
architect.
oh.
You got the
Ed
right
Clark.
name. I got an E on the end.
You have an E at the end, that's right. Oh, okay. Yeah, all right, never mind.
All right.
We'll save it. Any other questions?
Yep. On the construction official comments, I read here there's a discrepancy between engineer survey and architect plan. I couldn't find it.
Well, there was a slightly different number for the left side yard setback from what the architect has showed based on a previous survey.
Right.
And my survey shows a slightly different number. It's, you know, it's like a
And
couple
this
inches
is
different.
resolved now?
What's that?
Is it resolved between?
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna get in a fight with the other surveyor. It's, you know, I do my survey and I report what I find, and if there's a little bit of difference sometimes, you know, there's different measurements, where you measure on the side of the house is different sometimes the siding changes, any number of things. So I'm kind of standing by my numbers, which is what I have for the application and for the site data here.
Because it says discrepancy between survey and architect plans.
Right,
So
because,
which one,
because the
do we
architect
go
had
by?
developed the plan prior to me completing the survey,
Mhm.
and then didn't update his numbers to my survey. So he was based on the survey that he was starting from, which
Yeah.
was the previous survey.
Just maybe it could be noted for further, it should be noted somewhere, right? For the architect to know.
And where was the discrepancy? in
It's
the
the, on
architectural
the
plan?
left side of the dwelling, the existing setback on the left side, so I have it at 4.8, and I think it was 5.1 on the previous survey.
So what is our request, asking
It's
for updated
It's still a
plans,
variance,
or-
and I believe the 4.8 is in there as
Yeah.
it's tabulated in my site data chart.
Okay.
And when you look at the house, there's 5.1 at the front of the house, and then it goes to 4.8.
Right. And it may be the foundation is at 5.1, and I measure to the siding. There are a number of reasons why those numbers vary a little bit.
So we'll just recognize in our resolution that the actual setback, it goes down to 4.8%.
I think
Or, sorry,
that's-
4.8 feet.
A, because that's my survey that's on record, and B, because it's more conservative in terms of the variance.
Correct.
I would agree.
Thank you.
Now, with regard to the second story, and one of the points that the architect has made is that under the UCC, Uniform Construction Code, you need a certain setback in order for fire safety. So the second story addition may itself be moved back 0.2
To 2 inches, yeah.
inches in order to allow fenestration.
Right. So that's it for this witness, or is there? and do you
Yes.
have-
Is there any more questions?
That's it for this witness.
Okay. Any other?
Ed Clark, if there's
Yes.
any questions with regard to the landscape plan. I think I did see someone had a
I
question.
think I just wanted to know a little bit about what was going on in the back, because by that swing set, because it's kind of tight, the area.
I would ask that Mr. Ed Clark be called to the stand to be sworn in and give testimony in this matter.
All right, I'll ask you to raise your right hand. Do you swear or swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And please state your name, spell your last name.
My name's Edward Clark, C-L-A-R-K, no E.
And
Landscape.
once again, you have also appeared before us a number of times, including recently. Any changes to your credentials since the
No
last time you were
changes.
here?
Nice.
I imagine we'll accept you back.
Yes.
Same question, you're familiar with the application, and how did you achieve that familiarity?
Through site visits and working with the team on developing the current layout.
I have nothing further.
Any questions from the experts?
No, just, I mean, the applicants accepted the condition to screen the generator in front, right?
That's correct.
Come to compliance. I have no further questions.
I'm looking at two versions of this, one dated March, well, they're both dated March 29, 2024. And one is signed by John Linson. Is there any difference between the two?
In terms of the
I
staff
mean,
comments?
apparently Mr. Linson signed the one that we were given tonight.
He approved the landscape.
He what?
He approved the landscape plan.
This-
That's him signing off on it.
Okay, so he signed off on it, which
Quite literally signed off
Yes.
on
which
it.
comes off his other comments.
Well, his comment was he approved the plan. His comment was that he approves the plan, so that's.
Yeah, he wanted a plan, he wanted this, so this is an acceptable,
And
which
Mr.
is now a
Linson was
year
at the
old. This
site.
is a year old.
I don't know that we made any
This
changes.
plan
in the
is a year
trees.
old.
No, this plan should be,
March 29th, 2024.
Well, the tree planting is the same. I think the only change was a minor change to
This
the
is this
amount
is
of
the one
pavement
I'm
being
looking
removed.
at that I received, which is, that's the one we got with the plan.
you received the
Okay,
set
so
with
they
the
revised
filing
them
of the
again.
application.
Okay. It's
And
the
then,
fifth revision. I missed the top, I'm doing the bottom.
okay. So the plans that have been presented are dated revised 2/7/2025.
Okay.
With regard to the chairwoman's question about how we're fitting everything in the back property line,
Along the back property line where the swings are, there's one pear tree being removed, 6-inch caliber pear. Mr. Lindsay and I share a hatred of pear trees for obvious reasons, and it's being replaced with an evergreen tree, cryptomeria, which is an evergreen tree, fast-growing and narrow. So,
Narrow, yeah, all right.
Cryptomera,
cryptomeria.
what is that?
It's an evergreen tree. It's narrow in habit and very fast-growing. There's an existing cryptomeria in the rear corner of the property.
I just want to make sure that what it wasn't going to encroach on the play area there because it is so close. And then with respect to the generator and the screening of the generator in the front yard, so I see you have screened it from two sides, but it's not screened on the driveway side because it's close to the driveway. Typically, would there be some kind of fence or swinging or something? I mean, I know my neighbors have something similar. When they put theirs in, they had to screen it on all the sides that people could see it from. Is there, I can't tell from this drawing, but I was.
There isn't a constructed screen proposed. There are clearances around the generator. I don't know that we could get a constructed screen in that space between the edge of pavement and the generator, but we did screen it from the other side and from the front.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No? Okay, so, and we don't have any public here to have questions or comments. Is that the last, are you the last witness, Mr. Clark, or is there someone else?
That was the last witness, Madam Chairwoman.
Do you have any closing statements or?
Nothing further. I would submit the application to the approval of the board. We've discussed the conditions, and Jennifer and Hector are willing to, if the board approves the application, be subject to those conditions.
Mr. Ball, can you go over what the conditions are?
Absolutely. So we have three. First is compliance with those conditions noted in the board engineer's memorandum. Second, that the applicants will screen the generator in the front yard in accordance with the requirements of the city ordinance. And third, that the applicants will remove the gravel area with seating. Don't know how else to describe that one.
And then we're going to add the variance for the playground location, right? Which is not a condition, but it's an added
Correct.
variance.
We recognize that request to include the swing set area approximately 6 feet from the property line. Also just confirming the 4.8 feet is the setback for the home.
What about for the existing dry well to make sure that, he said, because they don't know what it is?
That's already included in our board engineer's report, that they have to inspect and confirm that it's an operating condition.
And they will replace, and they will make sure that it's right, and if it's not, they'll replace it. Okay, that doesn't need to be a condition?
Correct, because
Okay.
that's already incorporated into our general compliance with the board engineer's
Okay,
memorandum.
thank you.
There was also the representation with regard to the cedar shakes. That's a representation. They're bound by the representations that are made under oath.
Correct.
So we'll start executive session.
And also just to confirm, of course, there is a D4 variance floor area ratio involved, so 5 votes are required to approve the application.
Thank you. Who would like to kick off executive session here? Any comments, thoughts?
I'm in favor of this application. I think it's a good idea to increase the volume of living space in it. Preserving the same appearance and facade is a good idea too. I don't see any impact on neighbors or. So I do support this application.
I agree with Lyman completely, and I think it's a great effort to, I agree with Lyman completely. I think it's a great effort to comply with the character of the house as it is now, so I'm completely in favor of it.
Anyone else?
I agree. I think there was a lot of adjustments made, and I think it's all, you've been working with us on. I agree. I think, it's gonna be, it's a good end. I think we came to a good conclusion.
Yeah, to support this, I think it's a very thoughtful plan. Coming back with the reductions that you did, understanding it's a narrow lot to begin with, so I thought it was a very thoughtful plan.
Yes, I agree. I think that, and the thing that I would be maybe concerned about would be like the massing, but I don't see that as an issue, especially considering that the addition is going sort of towards the middle of the property, not the side of the property where, where you're extending it. So it's really not going to have an impact on the neighbors. Appreciate the work to sort of take away a little bit of the driveway and remove that gravel area in question, which will actually make your yard probably a little bit, bigger, right, for the kids to play right by the swing set. So that's not a bad thing too. But yeah, I think it was very thoughtful, and appreciate the changes you made to try to get closer.
As we continue to do, we've taken a request to not quite follow our rules and made it better. And that what we'll get is a much improved plan from what we originally got a couple of months ago. And I appreciate everybody working with it. And if the chair would allow, I think we could move this forward.
So is that a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Mr. Steiner?
Yes.
Mr. Yuko?
Yes.
Ms. Chifo?
Yes.
Mr. Neering?
Yes.
Vice Chair Zahn?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you. Board members.
Are we going to go back to Greenbrier now? So, have a good night. We'll move back to Greenbrier now, 15 Greenbrier.
Thank you for the opportunity to take a few minutes while you started another application.
So, do you have some?
We had a chance.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
We had a chance to talk about it, and the Starkers have agreed to push the wall all the way back to the 35-foot setback. Unfortunately, that does not allow them to save any other trees, but it does allow them to reduce a lot of the steep slope coverage. I have Peter here to talk about that further. Peter Corzine, civil engineer.
Yeah, I don't have the exact area, but just by looking at this, I would say it's we'll probably end up removing 3/4 of that southerly steep slope disturbance.
Can you estimate the square footage reduced in steep slope disturbance?
Oh, let's see, that's the previously approved for phase one, yeah, so, 2,100. Hard to say, I mean, I'd say probably in the neighborhood of, say maybe 300 square feet we're gonna cut back.
Do our experts have any comments on that?
As far as the calculation?
Or just on the,
Pick it up.
Well, just to reiterate, a few points. The applicants provided testimony about why they've located the patio where it is. Of course, the board can formulate its own opinion, but they've offered that the one variance that's required has to do with the steep slope disturbance, which is being reduced by virtue of reducing the grading and moving that front boulder wall further into the property to comply with the front yard setback, which is the location of the wall and the grading in that location is not a variance by itself, but does impact the steep slope disturbance by approximately 300 square feet. So that'll be reduced as far as the variance that's being requested. I think it does make sense that the patio being located in the side yard has screening, which they're proposing. So in front of that boulder wall where it drops down, there'll be some amount of landscaping as was shown on the plan. Beyond that, I just had one further question about the lighting that's being installed. There's some, it look like landscape lights being installed around the patio.
Yes.
No details, can you just confirm what?
If I can have Steve Simonfay, the landscape designer, he is prepared to speak on the landscape lighting.
Good evening.
All right, I'll swear you in.
My name's Steve Simonfay.
If you could raise your right hand.
Sure.
Do you swear from testimony you're about to give in this matter the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Steve Simonfay, Simonfay.
Thank you. And can you just briefly describe your background and experience for the board?
Been a landscape contractor for the last 35 years. I've appeared in front of this board, Chatham, both Chathams, Milburn.
Are you licensed as a landscape architect or no?
No.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Accept.
All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Steve, we're showing your rendered landscape plan,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And I think they wanted to hear about the buffering, particularly in front of and behind the boulder wall.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I met with John Linson last week, and we talked about the buffering, and he told me he would like to see that beefed up a little bit. So I went in, added some more things to the plan, and I looked at the comments about asking for more native things. So we have about 9 species of plants here, and 8 of those are all native. So I think that we've fulfilled that. So primarily you have giant arborvitaes on top of the wall to provide the screening. You have giant arborvitaes on the side also, and then enhanced by some hollies on the lower portion and some hollies in the corner. And then we have hydrangeas in front of the wall as you're looking up from the patio, and then a mixture of different perennials, native perennials.
You had a chance to make sure that this plan complies with the new shade tree ordinance, is that right?
Yes, I did.
And specifically, a few of those are shade trees that you're proposing now,
Yes, we have 3 river birches.
and there's a couple. And the hollies are on that list as well.
Yes, yes, the hollies are on that list also, for replacement list, as well as the giant arborvitaes are on the replacement list. And the Lobos Gelatium is all Lobos Gelatium that will conform with any of the regulations.
Any questions from our
Lighting?
experts?
The
If you
style of
could-
lighting, that's just like the typical landscape.
China hat light?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I didn't have a word for it, okay. See if we can issue.
All Lobos.
Very
Yeah.
small, right?
I have a question.
Sure.
Now we're going to have that 35-foot setback. How will that impact what we're seeing there?
Well, basically, everything will just be shrink back.
Well, everything, but I mean, there's some plants that look like they might, I mean, will everything go back, or we'll
So
lose nothing?
That'll be modified.
Okay.
Might have to
So-
take out 1 or 2 arborvitae, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay.
Something like that. You do want to, of
I
course,
think
make sure that
primarily
there's
everything
enough
on the
space.
top of the wall will probably be very similar to what's there. Things that will be on the patio side facing out will probably be modified.
And I actually have a question, which might go back now to the engineer. If we're pushing the setback back to 35 feet, and we're kind of guessing what the steep slope number is, the 35-foot, that's precise. Do we need a precise number on the steep slope change, or?
So I will ask them to, as a condition of the application, if we're going to
Thank you.
approve it, that in the interim between now and the resolution, they'll need to get me the confirmed number of the steep
Okay.
slope disturbance so that we can get the final percentage there. We have the estimates, we all know what we're talking about with the 35-foot setback, but of course, on the resolution, we want an exact figure.
Thank you.
Okay,
We can do
good.
that.
So, as far as, oh,
One question as the engineer. When we do move the wall back, would the shift be so that the north side of the wall is on the 35-foot setback? Or would it be the south side?
Actually, I wanted to ask that too, good
Because
question. That
it
is a
would
good
be
question.
preferable to have it on the north side, just because it is a boulder wall. It has a little bit of depth to it, and it would provide a little bit more usable area, since we do have some landscaping on the bottom of the wall.
If the board doesn't mind.
So you would prefer it which way? I would,
On
The
the
south
outside.
side of the wall, or the low side, would be at the 35-foot setback.
Rear of the wall.
the rear of the wall be on
Correct.
the 35-foot line.
If you're in the street
Yeah.
looking at the house, the
Yeah.
rear of the wall. So
So it wouldn't technically be.
All the
35
sides are
feet.
35 feet.
It would probably then
it'd
be
be 35
34
feet
foot.
to the rear, not 35 feet to the front, which is what you guys,
So then would the setback actually then be less than 35 feet?
yes.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, and again, setback's not necessarily the requirement, or the variance that they're seeking, right? So the
Right.
variance they're seeking is for the steep slope, so.
That's
it-
true.
It does relate
Okay.
to the slope because there is some portion of steep slope in that area. So by virtue of moving it back, it minimizes that sliver of slope. But the location of the wall is not restricting the need for variance.
so, I have a question for Mr. Simon Fay. No, all the landscaping on the side, around the wall is, looks definitely sufficient. I did notice that looking out into sort of the backyard neighbors, along here, there's, the bottom of the property, there's not a tremendous amount of screening, and now you have a patio that's going to be used a lot. Is there any plan to add additional screening back here?
There's already quite a bit of things there that's
well,
not
I
been disturbed.
Think
So,
that,
I mean,
with
I
the
can-
house, the one, let's see, there's
So-
two houses. There's one that's behind the house and one that's behind the swing set, the play area. And that one, the screening is pretty light through there, like you can see through the fence in the house. And I feel like that could use more screening with the patio there.
I'd be happy to add more screening if the board felt that was necessary.
I don't know who can, because it's so steep. So let's see first, but I appreciate it.
It's not the steep slope area. It doesn't have any crosshatch for steep slope over there. It's just a regular.
I don't know, is that the area that we're talking
I don't know.
about? Is this the area that you're talking about?
Well, I mean,
This is
nothing
the
was,
back of the
nothing
property.
was flowered today, but when I was
This
looking
is
through
the-
here,
this is
these
the
are,
back of the property.
yeah, this was all, obviously, today, it's all like, looks like,
Yeah, it's
see-through.
just isn't in leaf yet.
right, so maybe there could be a couple of evergreen
what,
kind of
8-2?
shrubs. Excuse
It's an
me?
exhibit now.
Oh, yeah,
Or
oh,
can we leave that blank?
Suppose it is.
Okay.
Mark that as.
A2, is that?
Are we on
eight-
A2?
Yeah.
So what's the height of this retaining wall?
Side.
The retaining wall that's in the front?
Why do you think I had him next to me?
The retaining wall has a height,
Um,
so what
Yeah.
is the average or the maximum height?
Approximately 3.5 feet tall.
Nothing more?
Hmm?
Nothing more than 3.5, okay, thanks.
I have two questions.
Before we go on to something else, can we just confirm, I know we started to talk about the front and the rear of the wall and where it's going to be placed. What do we want to see? Do we want to see the front of the wall start at the 35-foot mark? Are we okay with the rear of the wall being at the 35-foot mark?
I feel like the 35 feet now is arbitrary.
A little
Right.
bit, yeah. Like our
Yep.
planner has said, it's not a variance that's
Yeah.
required for it. We're
Yeah.
using that as kind of an area to just get an approximate
mean,
reduction in the steep slope.
Maybe a question for the applicant is, when you guys were outside thinking this through, you're now moving that boulder wall closer to the patio. So as you have kids running back and forth and through it, just like, I'm not sure what space there is now between that, but,
So we're,
Approximately 15 feet.
Yeah.
right?
it was about 15 to 17 feet. And so we felt that with some of the area that's on the side, it would be sufficient.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I guess it's the back edge of the wall you want to have on that 35-foot line. I'm fine with that personally.
So, one question about this, I mean, is it possible to eliminate disturbing all of the steep slopes in this area? I mean, do these 2 trees need to be removed? Is it, hold on. Is, you know, we're putting a wall here, I understand that, but, you know, to the comments made by the Environmental Commission about the, like, existing shade trees and trying to preserve them, and I can see where some of these clearly have to go because they're in the construction area. You know, there's a patio on top of it, you're not gonna preserve the tree. I'm just wondering about these 2 trees right here, whether those could be preserved by not doing that in this little area, disturbing the steep slopes, because it almost doesn't, at this point, it almost doesn't look like it makes sense to disturb the steep slope in that small space. And it would sort of, it would,
Steve, to create any flat usable area, we need to remove those 2 trees, right? We've already pushed it back another 15 feet. We're really crunching the amount of space for them to use now, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've worked
We
around
did
as
try
many of
that,
the trees
but-
we concentrated on saving that 42-inch tree, so we've changed the plans considerably to save those. We changed the plans to save the back buffer,
which tree is being saved?
the
I'm sorry.
42-inch oak.
Which is, I'm sorry, can you tell us where that is?
Right adjacent to the house,
Right
next to
next to the
the
house.
existing stairs.
Oh, over here.
Yeah. Even though John Linson wanted, recommended taking that out.
Any other
If
questions?
I could, did you have a chance to review the environmental group's
I did.
comments and your thoughts?
Well, I mean, we've tried to incorporate, as you can see by our plan, we incorporated, I believe, 8 out of the 9 plants are native.
No,
Okay.
that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the shade trees.
I'm talking, yeah, so unfortunately, in order to accomplish with a to get a small lawn in there, we had to take down quite a few trees.
I know you're taking them out, but, well, you're replacing them with arborvitae.
No, there was more than
And other things.
arborvitae.
Is there places to put shade covering trees
Yeah.
that will grow, hopefully over time, to create the canopy that they're talking about?
So,
Are we doing that?
we are open to that.
Steve,
But we're not doing it right now.
Well, right now, we have.
It's not in the plan.
It is in the plans.
Excuse me, can I just finish?
The shade trees in the plan.
We have 3
Yes.
river birches in the plan.
And the hollies are on the Appendix A, which lists the shade trees that are permitted and
if you
required
like.
to be replacements for shade trees.
If you like some shade trees, we're open to doing a couple shade trees.
They are.
I
They're
I
willing to
don't-
do
I don't-
more, but they already are providing 11 that are on the list of shade trees in the ordinance. So they could do more shade trees if needed, but they are providing 11 that are listed as shade trees, not including the arborvitae,
And wait,
which
how
is
many?
also listed on there, but
And they're removing how many? I'm getting
10
confused.
Removing
plus-
10.
10 plus the one that was not faring well.
But these are large trees that are being removed.
I
some
think
of
we
them
all
are.
want you not to take any of the trees out and then put more shade trees in. But we're not gonna do that. We can't.
open to that, sir. We would be happy to do that,
To do more.
to do more.
This is just the minimum they can add. But this complies.
It's just
with the
mature
tree
trees
ordinance.
versus.
New plantings.
Any other questions?
So are we asking for a particular condition here as far as shade trees and?
I'm willing
the
to
amount?
listen to the rest of our board members.
I was gonna
My
ask the same
suggestion is
question
we
that you.
add some, but,
Yes, I was gonna ask the same thing that you asked. So yes, I agree. I think we should have more. I mean, these are large trees that are being taken down. And, yeah, I think we need.
So the new shade tree ordinance, I think, Mr. Ball kind of covers that and requires a
Not 2
specific
for 1.
number, right? It requires 1-to-1 for those trees,
Is it 1-for-1 for that size? Because I
for
think,
12 inches or bigger, I believe. So we are doing that. If the board was like any more than 11, I think it sounds like the applicants are willing to do more. I think they just want to know how many and what type. We could offer an amount, but they are already putting 11 in this plan,
And that complies with the ordinance.
which, yes, complies with the
So
ordinance.
I don't see any reason to ask them to
The
do
new
more than what the
ordinance.
ordinance requires.
well,
I've just asked our attorney to confirm the 1-for-1.
If that's what the ordinance requires, I think that's enough.
now, is that the one that it's just passed or about, because there's one that was like very close. What is the date of that? There's a revision.
This is from July of 2024.
Yeah, so anything with a DBH of 12 inches or greater, the tree replacement criteria is to replant one tree with a minimum tree caliper of 2 to 2.5 inches for each tree removed. And so you're in compliance with that requirement of the city code.
Yes,
that-
we will.
To clarify, that requirement is for anybody removing any trees regardless of steep slope. That's just, if you remove a tree on your property, you have to replace a tree. This is a different situation because we do have all of these steep slopes being disturbed. And this area right here, I still feel like those trees should be, they seem like they should be able to stay. So personally, I'd like to see a couple more in. If we're taking these out to get a flat yard of this area, of this magnitude, then I think a couple other shade trees would be,
So just to be specific here, you're talking about the area where 2 shade trees are being removed now. Is it acceptable? Are you asking for 2 additional shade trees beyond what's currently proposed to be planted on the property?
yes.
Is that
We can
acceptable?
agree to that.
Okay.
And I think there is no public here for this case as well. Is that correct? No public for comments? Okay, so.
I have a question. So the little red dot, that's where the lighting's gonna go, little red circle, right?
Correct.
Is any additional sort of disturbance, I mean, because obviously you have to put the electrical lines on, dig them under the ground, to go to code. Is there gonna be any additional disturbance that has not already been discussed to get all the lighting
No,
here?
no.
Any other questions? No? Okay, so, that was your last witness?
Yes.
Any closing comments?
I do not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there are any other questions?
Any other questions before we go to executive session? Seeing none, do we want to go over the conditions and the variances and then?
So 3 conditions I have noted. First is compliance with those conditions in the board engineer's memorandum. Second is that the applicant shall revise their plans to shift the proposed retaining wall back so that the rear of the wall is at the 35-foot setback line. And the applicant shall submit revised plans to the board engineer for review and approval. And the third condition is that the applicants will supplement the landscaping plan to add 2 additional shade trees to the property. Here we do only have 1 variance, steep slope. It's a C variance, so 4 votes are required to approve.
Does anyone Want to start executive session here? Comments? Yes.
I'll go ahead. I think that they've done a lot to bring this closer to what we are looking for, and I appreciate their accommodation, and we're glad they took the 5 minutes and waited for the other case to finish, and that we have again, an improved application that will be nice for the neighborhood, will not be a detriment to anything, will not cause any issues, there'll be no negative effects, and the neighborhood will look nicer. Their neighbors are protected with some screening, so all of the right things have been done, and I can certainly support this application.
I do support this application as well, but I would like to add one condition, that the first plan, the drawing 103 should be revised to reflect that.
Yes, I believe that that's caught in the comments, and we're happy to do
Yeah,
that, I think. Peter is
revised
on that.
engineering plans are going to be
Correct.
submitted, yes.
Thank you, that's it, I
Thank you.
support it.
Any other?
I just add, considering the steep slope that you have on the property, I think there's only so much you could do without disturbing the steep slope and make it usable. So I think you ended up with a very, I think, thoughtful design, and appreciate the accommodations and listening to the board. I can support this.
Do we-
I can support the plan as described. I think it's a good plan. I think it's gonna make a nice addition to the neighborhood.
Thank
Can I make a motion to approve, just to keep it moving?
Yes.
Second.
Thank you.
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yes.
Mr. Steiner?
Yes.
Mr. Yuko?
Yes.
Ms. Chifo?
Yes.
Mr. Nearing?
Yes.
Vice Chair Zahn?
Yes.
Thank you.
And Ms. Alfonso, just a reminder, as soon as you get those revised numbers, if you could get those steep slope
Yes.
figures to me, we need that in advance of the resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then, next up is 32 Twombly.
That's the Alfonso.
Or actually, should we take a break? Do we
Alfonso
want
and
to take
Weber
a
continue.
5-minute break here before we start the next one, if that's good with, probably.
I'm just sorry the civics kids didn't get to stay.
I know, that she fell asleep on
Did she? Good.
So sad.
That's what they should do.
Alfonso and Weber on behalf of the applicants, Mike and Jill Johnson at 3234 Twombly. We still don't know why there's a break in the post office addresses. We've done a background and we still don't have an answer. So we're going as 32 Twombly. This is A1, if I can, Madam Chairwoman. This has previously not been submitted to the board, although the board had the elevations on the plans that were prepared by Steve Kowalski, which showed this. This is a close-up of that perspective. What's going on is that you have an existing split-level home that is going to be renovated in order to produce a more colonial-style property. This is met with the approval of HPC, Environmental Commission, and overall will be a benefit to the community. With regard to the variances, you have a building coverage variance, where they're increasing the building coverage, I think, by 17 square feet total over what's existing. And that really comes with regard to the open front porch. Open front porch contributes an increase of 130 square feet. Likewise, there will be an increase in the lot coverage of 215 square feet. As part of this application, not only are they adding the second story over the one-story addition and converting this from a split level into a colonial style home, they're also adding a pool at the back of the property. And that pool is going to obviously increase the amount of coverage. And so you have the increase in coverage of a total of 215 square feet, because Mr. Clark has gone and has removed other impervious surfaces throughout the property in order to bring the total increase over existing to 215 square feet. There's a floor area ratio variance associated with this. 190 square feet of that FAR is devoted to, the front of the existing house has the old kind of cavern cave opening where your front door was set back under an open roofed area. And as a result, that's going to be enclosed. And as a result, when that's enclosed, you have an increase in the floor area ratio, plus, of course, the second story over the bottom level. Because you're dealing with a existing structure, there's an inefficiency in working with that structure, and that's reflected in the 27.6% FAR, where 25% is permitted. So that comes to around 396 square feet over what's permitted. We also have a steep slope disturbance in the back property. This property sits at the bottom of a hill, and as a result, what's being proposed is to put a pool, and to take advantage of that steep slope in the back, put a pool there, have a patio, and create an enjoyable outdoor space. Unless the board has any questions of me, I would ask that Mike and Jill Johnson be called to the stand to be sworn in to give testimony in this matter.
Yes, I have a question. What's the percentage of demolition that's going to take place for this renovation?
It'll be interior.
Everything will be interior?
We're actually eliminating an existing area.
I think
Okay,
we'll
I know.
we'll have to answer that once the experts are actually sworn in.
But we'll have that information.
Okay.
Okay.
Mike, Jill, if you can come up. I'm going to go back up to the dais or to the stand here.
And in the meantime, if you could each raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And one at a time, please state your name, spell your last name.
Jill Johnson, Johnsson.
And Mike Johnson, Johnsson.
Thank you.
And you're the owners of the property at 32 Twombly?
That's right.
Yes.
And how long have you lived there?
We bought the property in 2018.
And you live there with your 2 children?
We have 2 children, a boy and a girl, 11 and 3.
And what you're proposing is something that you've been looking at since you bought the property.
Yeah, I think we've always liked the location. It's very close to the elementary school. Our daughter went through Wilson kindergarten and then is now in 5th grade at Franklin. We're looking forward to our son also attending Franklin as he goes through first Wilson probably and then Franklin as well. Also just the location of it being walkable to town as well as some of the other attractions like getting to the train nearby and where it generally sits. But one of the things we've always thought was, the location is great, and there's a lot of potential for improvement over the years. And some of these things like adopting a colonial style and getting more use out of the backyard, which the space is there, but because of the, because it's uphill, it makes it a little challenging to use the space at times.
Have you had a chance to review the staff comments? And those are the reports that the experts that the board has provides to the board and that you've received copies.
Yeah.
And do you find the recommendations in there acceptable, subject to the comments of your experts?
We do.
And have you had a chance to talk to your neighbors?
We have. And, oh, go ahead. We didn't come across any objections, and if anything, actually our uphill neighbor is here in support, which is Jared. Sorry.
I have nothing further, Madam Chairwoman.
Do you have any questions from our experts or our board members for the applicants? No? Okay, so I believe we do have some member of the public.
I have one quick question. Please, can you just explain why you want to put a pool in?
Yeah, so we all love to be in the water. My daughter's on the swim team at the Y and a pretty avid swimmer. We just got back from Florida, crocheting where we can be in the water. And I just think it'd be nice for the kids to have something to do and get them off the screens and get them outside as much as possible.
Thank you.
I have a question. In all the drawings, it's very hard to find the pool.
Let me bring up, that was something that the landscape expert also said, I'm just having trouble reading it, so what he went ahead and did was this. So that just helps to show where the lawn is, where the retaining wall is, where the pool is, and the patio is shown in that yellow.
So is that going to be, that's an exhibit,
This
right?
That is a new exhibit.
A2 then.
Yes.
Thank you. So this is an excerpt from the landscape plan, but it shows mainly the landscaping that's being proposed. There is no amount of landscaping going in the front. I think most of the landscaping is to the rear of the property.
We'll hear from,
I could have been on the drawing, clearly, but, okay.
I had the same problem when I was reading it.
and we will be hearing from the landscaper after, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so at this moment, I think we'll take public comment, change it out of order. If there's any members of the public who would like to comment, we'll hear that now.
And I'll just note for the record that, obviously the whole application hasn't been presented yet, but I understand this is a request of the applicants to hear this public comment out of order, correct?
Thank you, appreciate it. It's
That's
getting
correct.
late.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Jared,
Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the
I
truth?
do.
Please state your name, spell your last
My
name.
name is Jared White, W-H-I-T-E.
Thank you.
I live at 17 Ramsey Drive, and we share a rear lot line. They might share a rear lot line with some other folks, but I think in bulk, most of their lot line is shared with mine, and most of my rear lot line is shared with theirs. I've reviewed the application in all respects, and I fully support what they're trying to do. So, and I had some consultants as well review it for me. So I'm pretty informed about it, and I support it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just
Good
to
luck.
confirm, I assume we have no questions for this member of the public?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. If I could call Andrew Clark to the stand to be sworn in to give testimony in this matter.
We'll just do it again. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
And please state your name, spell your last name.
Andrew Clark, C-L-A-R-K-E.
And I'll note for the record, you were sworn and accepted as an expert engineer in the prior application, and we'll accept you back again now,
My license status has not changed.
in the past few
Yeah.
minutes.
And of course, the regular question, you're familiar with this application, and how did you achieve that familiarity? And if I can, board members, the reason I do that is so that the board understands this is not a net opinion, but that this is an opinion based on studies and facts, so that the opinion that you're hearing from the expert is fully informed.
Yes, and in most circumstances, I would have the answer I had previously. In this case, there's one difference in that I did not conduct the survey, but I did visit the property several times to review the survey and the site conditions. And I prepared the lot grading plan, which is in the submission package, the variance plan dated November 13th, 2024.
With regard to the stormwater management, and I wasn't sure as to how much capacity that you're putting in, because when I looked at the amount of increase in lot coverage, it came up to around 215 square feet.
Right. So by Summit's ordinance, we're not even technically required to provide stormwater management in that regard, since 300 square feet is of new impervious coverage is the threshold. But as is my habit at this point with applications like this, especially when we're dealing with steep slopes and we're dealing with the types of improvements we are on a property like this, I always try to make a strong effort to bring the stormwater as a positive component of the application. So accordingly, we're actually proposing a dry well in the front yard that's going to handle the entire roof area and the patio area from the pool in the back. So we're managing a total of about 3,800 square feet of impervious surface between the roof area and the patio, with, as you point out, a relatively minor increase in actual impervious coverage. So we're going way above and beyond because we want to make sure that at the end of this is a good project that's making a substantial improvement in terms of stormwater.
And this was a discussion that you had with Mike and Jill, and they were all enthusiastic about that?
Yes, yes.
And why don't you describe the steep slope disturbance in the back of the property?
Sure. Well, the steep slope disturbance, there's a little bit in the front because of actually the dry well that we're installing. But in the big picture, it's a 15,000 square foot lot, and as depicted on the plan, the total existing steep slope areas on the property is about 5,400 square feet. So it's about 36% of the lot is steep slopes. And it's considerable, especially when you consider that the impervious surfaces amount to about the same amount, a little over 5,000 square feet. So, you have actually pockets of this site that are not steep slopes. And in terms of the disturbance, we're proposing to disturb 3,000 square feet of that 5,400. So a little more than half, 55% of the steep slope area we're slating for potential disturbance. I say potential disturbance because, like in the front, we have the dry well we're installing, and I've placed the limited disturbance, as you can see with the silt fence limit there, recognizing that there's activity that happens around that construction effort. So in order to not run afoul of the regulations once we're in construction, I'm going to make my limited disturbance in the steep slope condition a little more conservative than I would ordinarily.
And that designation is a line with X's on it?
Correct. Yeah, that's what I use for the silt fence limit, which is labeled over here, but not on that side. And then we have that limit running up the right corridor into the backyard. There's a little stone row in the back that we meet up. And that's to allow for the construction of this area in the back with the pool and the wall that's got to affect the grade change, because once you get behind that pool area, it slopes right up pretty quickly up to Ramsey in the back.
I have
But-
nothing further.
There were a couple of questions I'll touch on in the engineering review that pertain to the stormwater primarily. No issue with the sizing. There was a question about the way we're collecting the water around the pool and the patio. I know it's a little tough to distinguish with all the other features there, but the pool and the patio are this rectangle in the back. And then at the back, at the base of the wall, we're going to slope slightly down away from the pool edge to the bottom of the wall and have an infiltration drain, sort of a more passive stone trench with a perforated pipe in the bottom that's going to go along the back. And then we're going to place an inlet in this, what'll be sort of a lawn area to the right of the pool, and then pick up another inlet on the left side of the pool. And then I'm putting one for good measure in the front, just because this side along, even though the whole lot is steep, along the side of the house is actually pretty flat, along this left side. So I want to make sure we have the ability to capture anything that's getting out there. And so the few comments were, why are the inlets where they are positioned rather than closer to the patio? And in part, that's just to allow a little bit of grading to bring and steer the water into that inlet versus being closer. I'd also point out that this is a 10 scale plan, which is sort of much bigger in scale than what I typically would present or that you guys might see on a regular basis. Usually have 20 scale plans or 30 scale plans. So it's actually not that far away from the patio is the bottom line with that. It's probably about 8 feet away from the patio. And this is a little bit less on the left side. And then the other comment that relates to the stormwater was to introduce, I think it was on an earlier application too, some water quality features. So I haven't actually detailed the inlet yet, but I do have a detail that incorporates, as was discussed before, a sump. So you have, a separation between where the pipe goes out of the drain and the bottom of it. And in my detail, I actually have the pipe comes up from the bottom, and you can actually put a little cap on the top that helps filter out the debris when you do have flows. And then an open bottom with stone, or it's usually a stone bottom that allows some infiltration directly in the bottom for very small storms. So we will incorporate a water quality feature with the inlet in the plan. And there was another question about the fence, but I think that's more of a detail issue. The fence comes over from the corner of the house to enclose the backyard and the pool, and there's a existing about 3-foot wall on the left side. So the fence is going to come over to the wall and then jump up and continue at the top of the wall. I don't think it's really going to be an issue, but it was a question that was raised in there in the review. I don't know if I missed anything in the review that needs comment.
Just where the angles are for your pipe in the back, cleanouts, where you have a change in direction.
Oh,
At the two angles.
right, at the either end of the infiltration drain. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll add that on too.
So what we're talking about is wherever there's a change in direction for easy access, if in case you have to maintain the pipe in any way, you have a clean out there so that you can get in, snake out the pipe if you have to. And if you could just explain that, the fence, in a little bit more detail. There's a change in grade there, correct?
That's right. So along the side of the house, it's pretty level, and then there's about a 3-foot wall on this left side that's existing. And so the grade comes up about 3 feet, and then it slopes up from there. So where the fence comes out, it's basically going to come off the house and come to the face of that existing wall, and then we'll have to have another post that's up above that. So there may be a little gap in that fence, and they'll have to, I'm not a fence contractor, but I think they'll have some sort of angled piece on there.
Going up to catch the bottom grade with the top grade.
Right, exactly.
There was also a point about the generator.
Oh, right, yeah, and we had some discussion about that. So, well, the generator is in a conforming location. Where the existing location is back farther, but It's a little hard to see, but we're removing sort of an 8-foot section of the house at the back. That's part of the demolition that Mr. Millay had asked about. The existing portion, it's indicated on my plan with a dash line, and I do have it labeled, but we're taking off that 8-foot section in the back. And right now the generator sits next to it, and there was a previous application for that generator because there was a change in the ordinance. And at the time, you couldn't be that far into the side yard setback with a generator. But since then, the ordinance has changed so that it's 10-foot setback versus, I think it was 12 feet had to be the setback.
15.
Well, it was 15, and you were allowed to encroach 3 feet into it, and the generator was encroaching a little more than that into the side yard, so it was non-conforming in that regard. So now we're moving it forward, since we're taking that 8 feet off, we're moving it forward, but it is now in a conforming location because the ordinance has changed, and it's at least 10 feet. It's about 11.5 feet off the line. So it's in a conforming location, and it's got the window separation that's required for generators as well. And I thought you were asking about the pool equipment because that was the other question that we did discuss and was raised in the review where the pool equipment was. I failed to indicate that on the plan. We did have some discussion, and there are 2 locations that would be conforming locations for the pool equipment, either on the right side of the house towards the back. There's like an existing brick wall, and we could fit the equipment in there. Or another discussion, and we'll have to talk a little more with the pool contractor, could go on the upside of the curved part of the wall that's in a conforming location at least 15 feet off the line. One of those 2 spots is where it's going to go, and it will be properly screened as would be necessary.
If I can recall, Mike and Jill, you spoke to your pool contractor, and he's affirmed that it will be in a compliant position.
Yeah, I think he was reviewing maybe additional spots as well, but regardless, it would be conforming.
So it will comply.
Do you have any questions, Tom?
Just a few quick ones. Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Sure.
Just to clarify, the AC units and generator will be screened?
Yes.
Landscaping or fencing. I believe it was indicated that the proposal will not require the removal of any trees. Is that accurate?
I believe that's correct. I'm pretty sure that's correct. We do have the landscaper here, and I didn't conduct the survey, but I'm pretty sure there are no trees being removed.
Thank you. And just a few observations. So a lot of times when we have we'll call it the leveling out of yards in Summit, it's often, the wall is often facing the neighbor. In this case, it's facing the interior of the lot. So the impact of the 6-foot wall is actually to the house and not the neighbor down.
That's correct. So versus the neighbor who spoke earlier, we're going to be sort of down and sunken into the yard versus the opposite, which is often the case, as you point out.
And so the high point of the property is obviously
Is in the
rear
back.
lot line, and it slopes downward.
That's correct. It all slopes towards the street.
Right. And just again, from an observation standpoint, the pool area, I think, is about 600 square feet, which represents about 4% of the lot area.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yep.
So you're over on coverage by about 5%, and 4% of that is the pool, is my point.
That's right. That's right.
And also the front porch, which some might deem an aesthetic enhancement, is 300 square feet, so that's 2%.
Right, and doesn't carry quite the same massing.
Unenclosed.
Right, correct. Yeah, and we did some work to remove and try to balance that coverage and keep the increase as minimal as we could in this plan. So, you know, there's an existing walk that goes all the way up the side. We're eliminating that since it's little utilized, and we're just going to where the doorway is by the brick wall. And same thing on the left side. There was a walk wrapping all the way around, but it's not really necessary. You know, you don't need a walkway to access the air conditioners for the occasional servicing. So we've eliminated what we could from the plan and kept that increase as low as we could.
We saw that landscape rendering. Who is going to be commenting on it? Did you say you have
Yeah, there's a landscape designer that's here, yep.
Thank you.
You also pointed out, Mr. Behrens, that there's also a variance I didn't mention with regard to the minimum roof pitch.
Oh.
Ah, okay.
So we have the architect here, and he'll address that.
Questions from the board?
I have a question regarding the 6-foot wall. Is it a retaining wall? What type of material? Do you have any cross-section?
Yeah, I don't know that we've fully discussed exactly what type of material and construction it's going to be. It's probably going to be a segmented block wall type of construction. And it'll have to be fully designed because it's 6-foot high wall, so it's going to have to be engineered and designed and require a building permit. So all that'll have to be provided, but it hasn't been developed yet.
Okay. The other thing, when I'm looking at the architectural drawings, I see some footings that do not seem to be the original footings of the house. They are deeper than, could you elaborate on that?
Well, I think the architect's probably better situated to respond to that.
Sure, thank you.
I'm
You're
sorry,
welcome.
I didn't hear the question.
The question about regarding the footing and deep footing, they are shown on the architectural drawings. I could not understand them. I need some clarification, so I refer to the architect.
Very good, Mr. Malay.
Does anyone else have a question? I have one. The existing, there are 4 existing drains on the property. Where do they discharge?
Good question. I did take a look. You know, a lot of times these property drains, you know, lawn drains, things of that nature, suffer from deferred maintenance, let's call it. And it becomes very difficult to know exactly where they're coming out. If I'm guessing, which I probably shouldn't do, but I think some of them probably discharge towards the front of the property somewhere. That'd be more of a older, more conventional way of handling it. Someone would say, oh, well, we got some water collecting here, let's put a drain in and then we'll just daylight it down here somewhere. So it could be that there's some pipes popping out towards the roadway somewhere.
Right, and that when I was walking through, that was one of the things that I was wondering about. So would you say that your proposed stormwater management is an improvement on that, since you're handling the water on the property?
It will be a great improvement over that, especially with the inclusion of this substantial dry well. And, you know, we're planning, because of all those reasons and the work that's being done, we're just planning to remove those old drains.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one question. You said you're moving the existing walk on the right-hand side of the house. How do you get to the backyard if you're by foot?
Well, I mean, you just walk up the lawn.
You're just gonna walk out in the grass? There's not
Yeah,
gonna
but
be
I
any-
think a lot of the pool activity in the backyard is gonna happen from within the house. So you're not gonna have.
You do wanna walk to
you know,
your
but-
backyard, so it's just.
Yeah. I mean, we discussed it and whether or not there'd be a need for a connecting walk, and they really felt like lawn area would be fine for the amount of traffic that might make its way that way.
Okay.
Seeing no other questions, do you want to move on to the next witness?
I would ask that Steve Kowalski be called to the stand to give testimony in this matter.
Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please state your name, spell your last name.
Stephen Kowalski, K-O-W-A-L-S-K-I.
Thank you, and can you briefly describe your background and experience for the board?
I'm a licensed architect for the last 20 years in New York, New Jersey, Florida, Virginia, and I've appeared before this board, although not recently, numerous times. My office for 5 years was just down the street on Tulip Street.
Any questions, or would you like to accept his credentials?
We'll accept.
You're familiar with the application, and how did you achieve that familiarity?
I am myself and my team.
Can you please speak into the microphone?
On the table.
I am familiar with the application. Myself and my team have been working with the Johnsons for quite some time on exploring numerous options and coming up with a plan that they're excited about. Will be forever home.
You heard me refer to the roof pitch variance.
I did.
And can you describe the roof pitch that is being referred to, and how that will appear from the front of the property as well as from the rear?
I did.
And what screen would you like?
The first page you were on with this section is great. So the existing house, which you can see on the left, it's a little hard to read, but the entirety of the house is non-conforming. 100% of it has a pitch of 4 on 12 or 3.5, whereas the code requires 6. What we're proposing on the right, if we can pan over, or see the full screen, is the front-facing roofs will now have an 8 pitch. So from the street, it will be conforming. The rear of the house, we're keeping the existing pitch, partly to not exacerbate the FAR variance, because if we went with the steeper pitch throughout, we'd be adding unnecessary second floor space.
And then what about the roof pitch at the rear?
This is the existing pitch to remain.
And that's what does not meet the 6/12?
Right, it's less than 4.
And then Mr. Malay had a question with regard to the footings.
Yes, it's on page A100. Or actually, if you could go to that, Jim, and zoom out a little so we can see the demo plan on the left. It's a little hard to understand, but being a
Am I
split
on the
level.
right screen for you?
Yes, this is perfect. And then we can go back to the previous page. But this is the demo plan on A100. You can see that the garage is in the front, so that's a full level down. And there's existing full basement under the kitchen. So the section that you were referring to, Mr. Malay, was seeing the foundation. This is a full story down from the first floor. So we're not changing that. That's existing to remain. Jim,
That's the only part that's remaining, or what?
Well, this was
not
part
what
of your.
Remain. What's going to be removed?
Yes, so here, again, on page A100, drawing number 1, demolition basement plan, this portion, roughly 300 square feet, will be removed.
Thank you.
I have nothing further, Madam Chairwoman.
Any questions from our experts?
I'll note that the HBC reviewed the application and commented that they thought the architecture was a net benefit for the neighborhood as far as, being in keeping with the character of Summit. As far as my own comments, again, I know the front porch, could you comment about the architectural style and how it
You said it already. We thought that we're trying to hide the fact that this is a split level, so making the left side feel more like a traditional center hall colonial, we thought helped with how drastic this is now, that it feels like a split level. And it did add some curb appeal. This was the older rendering, the one you showed at the beginning of the presentation, an updated close-up. We thought it was a welcoming feel that helped with enhancing the character of the house and the neighborhood.
All right, thank you. And part of the variance relief being sought is related to the front porch. And I think the visuals sort of indicate that it's an attractive feature. I mean, that's my, as far as, on the one hand, it increases the coverage of the lot, but on the other hand, it was a choice that you guys made for, function so that they can spend time out front. And
Absolutely.
also enhances the architecture of.
And it addresses another portion of Summit's code where today this would absolutely not be allowed to have the garage so close to the street. So it also lessens that impact of the garage being so far forward from the house, which is not allowed by today's Summit code.
The building otherwise complies with setbacks?
It does. Well, it doesn't existing, but that removal from the back now makes it comply. It's existing non-conforming in the rear yard. By taking off that 8-foot bump out, now the rear yard is conforming.
So it brings it into conformity.
Yep.
And then finally, the maximum building height, I think, is 30 feet, where 35 feet's allowed.
Right, we're well below the maximum.
That's all I have.
Just to follow up with one question, is it your opinion that the site can accommodate the proposed increase in floor area ratio?
It is.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Engineering, I'm good with.
questions from the board?
I just have one question. The windows above the porch, are those, what you call it?
Egress?
No, they're regular windows, they're not
Double hung.
casement,
Double
double hung.
hung, yes.
And they're simulated divided?
Yes.
They're not like that?
No, we always try to
Okay.
talk clients out of snapping buttons.
Thank you.
I just had a question. Understand what you're trying to accomplish, and I think you've done a nice job with it. Were there any versions where you didn't have to have the increase in building coverage?
Not building coverage. We tried some other alternatives where there was less FAR by going over the existing, going over here, but we thought that even made the split level less attractive, where we're trying to make this a benefit to the neighborhood, not just to the clients, but none of them where we didn't have a building coverage variance, and Mr. Weber pointed it out. If we can go to A101.
Let me know when to stop.
Next page. Yeah, so if we look at the existing demo plan, we have this big indent here. And so we did attempt, and maybe I'm gonna misspeak, we did try to add left and right and keep that middle open, but I couldn't find an attractive version that looked intentional and not that we were keeping an unusual 1960s floor plan.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
How much of that void contributes to the FAR?
190 square feet.
And that's the first level and second level combined?
Oh, FAR, no, building
Okay.
coverage, 190, so
Okay.
yes, it would be 190 times 2.
No other questions?
And just, I'm sorry, along that number, it coincidentally is similar to we're taking off roughly 300 or 320 off the back, times 1.
Okay.
I would ask that Jeff Higginbotham be called to the stand to be sworn in to give testimony in this matter.
And could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Jeff Higginbotham, Higginbotham.
Thank you, and can you briefly describe your background and experience for the board?
Yeah, I have a degree in landscape architecture. I've been a licensed landscape architect in New Jersey for 25 years, and I have appeared in front of Summit, Millburn, Chatham Township, a lot of local
Any
communities.
questions, or will we accept them back?
Accept.
And if we can, this was in response to the comments of John Linson, where he was looking for a landscape plan. And as a result, this should probably be marked as an exhibit.
And we are up
A3.
to
A3?
Okay.
All right, and so A1 was the perspective, close-up perspective. 2 was the highlighted pool backyard, so everyone can see where the pool and the lawn was. And then here's the landscape plan itself. Would you describe the landscape plan for the board?
Sure. Again, you've heard from Andrew and Stephen, who did kind of the heavy lifting in terms of the design on this project, and I was happy to join the team to just provide the last piece, which was just some perimeter planting. Because the only direct visual impact of this project is to the adjacent rear neighbors, I was focusing right now on just privacy screening in order to give the Johnsons, privacy to their pool area, and also to limit views from the neighbors to see the impact of the new project.
And I thought that the landscaping was to the rear. You also have landscaping in the front of the house.
There is a bit of shrub planting, evergreen shrub planting, and so a holly and boxwood at the front, just to mitigate a little bit of the front view of the front porch.
And I believe the board had a question specifically with regard to the landscape plan. But I've forgotten what the question was.
It was for the last, I think.
Trees being removed, thank you.
Right, there are no trees being removed. If you have visited the site, you might have seen some magnolias along what appears to be the rear property line. They're actually on the neighbor's property, so they're not growing on the subject property.
Just reviewing the plan, it looks like there's an existing stone wall located along, sort of, it meanders along the rear lot line, which may conflict with some of the plantings. Is the proposal to remove that wall?
Again, that exists on the neighbor's property. The gentleman who was in attendance earlier. So, technically that's his wall. It will not be removed. There's no need to remove it to get the planting in.
What I'm looking at shows it on
Yeah.
the subject lot. And you can't see it there admittedly, but if you look at either the survey or the plot plan, there's some type of wall.
Shows it wrapping around.
It says a loose stone wall on the survey. And,
Yes, it's not actually as much of a vertical wall as it is a collection of stone.
It looks
It's
like,
not a-
it
it's
looks
not a
like a wall.
retaining wall. Yeah,
But
it's-
it's, several
Yeah.
feet tall.
well, I'm not sure it's critical. The point
Yeah.
is that there seems to be a conflict. So I guess the question is that
There's,
the landscaping is gonna be as proposed, and you'll, I don't know, deal with that area as you need to accommodate the planting?
Yeah, it wouldn't interfere with any of the planting going in. It probably will be cleaned up and dressed if it's in disrepair, but it won't impact the location of the planting.
So what you're saying to the board is that you'll adjust the plantings to fit within the wall and the property line
Yes.
at the time of planting?
any questions from the board? I had one question, and I'm not sure if that's for you. There's a built-in grill in the back. Is that, and it looks like that whole wall is being removed to accommodate the pool. Is there going to be a new grill put in? If so, where is that?
Have you settled, I'm speaking to Mike, have you settled on where the grill's going to go?
We haven't.
But is that gonna be
It wouldn't be
plumbed?
that, but I think we would like to have a grill.
But it'll be like a gas grill that's plumbed, and so you'll get all the permits for that, because it's not on a plan, so even engineering didn't review that. But if you're removing that one, I'm assuming you're going to want another grill.
Thank you.
I do have one question. Since this landscaping plan was generated or caused by Mr. Linson's request, has he seen this yet? Didn't sound like he has.
I believe that we submitted, and I'm not sure if Mr. Nicola was able to get him the landscape plan in time, but we're relying on my memory, Mr. Yuko, so I'm not certain if he's had a chance to review it. But certainly,
So
if
let's
the
assume
board,
he hasn't.
yeah, if the board approves the application, then I think an appropriate condition would make it subject to his review and approval.
Okay.
Any other questions? Is that your last
Nothing
witness?
further, Madam Chairwoman. I would submit the application to the approval of the board.
Thank you. Do we have conditions and variances?
Yes, so I'll just note also for the record, there's nobody left in the public in attendance to ask any questions or add any more comments. So moving on to the conditions, we have first, compliance with those conditions noted in our board engineer's memorandum. Second, as just discussed, the applicant shall submit the landscaping plan to the city forester for review and approval. The variances include a D variance for floor area ratio, so 5 votes are required to approve it.
Who'd like to start?
I'll start. So there are a couple large variances here. There's a large increase in FAR, but I think that's been satisfactorily explained, and I think the property can accommodate it without any significant negative impacts. Large increase in lot coverage, most of that, if I understood what Mr. Behrens was saying, about 80% of that, it sounds like, was because of the pool. Does that sound about right to you? Or 70?
Right, yeah, more than that, I think, 4% of the total lot coverage.
Yeah, okay. So, and I think coverage by the pool is not, certainly not as onerous as coverage by a building or some other kind of structure. They're improving stormwater management, they're bringing the rear yard setback into conformance. The roof pitch, they're making it look nicer in the front, and, they're maintaining the existing nonconformity in the back, which I don't think it's an issue because it's in the back. Happy they have accepted the forester's recommendation for a landscaping plan, which seems attractive. I'm a little concerned about the placement of it regarding the wall, but, maybe Mr. Linson will have comments on that. That'll take away any concern with that regard. Having said all that, I can support the application.
I'm a little concerned with the position of following the prior bad information that we have. And rather than just continuing that situation, I kind of look at it as, kind of go back to some of the other issues that we've had where we need to look at this as if the first numbers were correct, and now we are looking at a significantly larger increase in these numbers. I'm talking about where you're discrepancy in the coverage of the historical records.
We had a chance to look
And
at.
I just have a feeling that we should go back to the other, and would we approve it if we were looking at it from the perspective of the original numbers to what they're asking for today versus the numbers that somehow got put in, and we don't know how, and we're proposing that we just accept it and move on?
Well, if I can.
I'm not sure I understand it that way, but that's kind of the way I interpret it, and I'll let you try and explain it better than I did.
We did take the opportunity to go into the archives. And what we found was that this was part of a 1951 plan development, and that the house was probably built in the 50s. We don't know exactly when it was built, but certainly we know it was built in
It
the
says
50s.
51, it's got the date right on the thing.
Right.
One of the things that
1951.
tells you the date it was put into the records in 1951.
Right. So, agree. So we have a 1951 development, and at that period of time, we had the 1954 ordinance. We have a copy of that 1954 ordinance, which did not have any of the standards that you have now. For example, didn't have lot coverage, didn't have floor area ratio, had setbacks, had that sort of thing, but did not have the level that you have now. The city's ordinance was really fully adopted in 1968, as you recall, and that the current DRO works off that 1968 standard. So the house was pre-existing non-conforming, and as a result, these numbers were not made up. You have a pre-existing non-conforming structure that, at the time it was constructed in the 50s, pursuant to the 1951, as you point out, was appropriate. Does that answer your question?
I'm sorry, I just think we should be looking at the old numbers, not the new ones. And that could change how we make a decision.
Can you clarify really
Yeah,
what we're,
Can I ask for clarification on, I guess, what is the difference in the numbers, the old numbers versus what we are looking for here? Is this the more conservative number?
If we're looking at the old numbers, those are the existing, which, as far as we can tell, and we've looked at some aerial photos, have been there since the original. We went back to 1991, and that's what we're seeing. So we're seeing a structure that has been there throughout. We also have the certificates of occupancy for not just this property owner, but for the predecessor in title. When you look at the certificates of occupancy, let's see if I can find them. Come on, open up. There we go. So when we look at the zoning permit certificate of occupancy to the Johnsons, we see dated 5/15/18, the R15 zone, 3004, lot 33. And we see this certificate verifies, and I'm looking in the block that's typed. This certificate verifies that smoke and carbon monoxide detectors are in place and operative as required. The above building or part thereof substantially complies with the zoning ordinance of the City of Summit and may be occupied for single-family dwelling. If we look at the next, the one prior to that one, we see in December 1, 2011, 32 Twombly, and this went to Xiao Feng and Tang Mi. Same certificate, same representation, signed by Krista Anderson as well. So this is the statement by the City of Summit, twice, certifying that this may be occupied, single-family dwelling, confirming that it complies.
But our job is to correct those things that get
So,
done
hang
wrong.
on. We're talking about only the existing building and lot coverage on the site. The proposed numbers of 40.3% for lot coverage and 22.1% for building coverage are correct. There's no question about that, right?
Those are, yes, the existing is confirmed, the proposed is confirmed, and that's where we're modestly increasing what has been certified by Krista Anderson, by the city.
So any dispute over what numbers were in the past doesn't change what the correct numbers are now. We're addressing the correct numbers
Right.
now.
Correct.
The size of the building, the coverage, all that.
Yes.
Well, there's no indication that the numbers are incorrect, it's just that the numbers exceed what's permitted, right? Am I right? I'm not actually seeing the discrepancy, I'm seeing 38.8% lot coverage where 35% is permitted, but is that really a discrepancy, or is that?
It's just we don't know
Right.
how it
How
got
it
to
got there.
38.
They are now asking to go from the lower number, which is what it should be, to
Understood.
the higher number, which means right now, it exists here, and they want to go to here, but what should be back here, and they're going to here.
But it doesn't
Yeah, it
change the
doesn't-
And
ultimate
that
The
to me
result.
house-
is,
but
that
the
to me
house
is a
ex-
problem.
The
But it
house
doesn't change the
exists.
ultimate result. It doesn't change what
It
they want to
doesn't
do.
change our job to weigh whether what they're asking for, regardless of what existed, what they're asking for are the percentages of 40.3% lot coverage and
Where
20.
35% is permitted.
Correct. And
Not where
correct. It
38
really
something
doesn't-
exists.
It really doesn't matter what existed, it's what they're asking for. It's our job to figure out, is that permissible?
So we should be
under the
looking
code?
at the major difference rather than what they're suggesting, the minor difference.
I would argue we don't have to look at the difference. We have to look at the result they're proposing. Can the property support the result they're proposing?
Have they satisfied the statutory test?
Thank you.
I have a question for Joe. What's the difference between this and other applications? I'm just confused. Because we're always,
Because they always start at what the legality is. Rarely do we have one where it's sitting already in an inappropriate number.
I think we see that all the time
Yeah.
with the setbacks and all kinds of, well, I mean, I guess it would be good to hear how other members of the board, what their opinions are, so if they're on,
like I said,
On
I'm
the
just confused
project.
on how this is, I think I'm missing something. If this one's presented a different way than they normally are presented?
Nope.
I think it was just actually spelled out in this memorandum in, like, calling out the difference in more, spent more time talking
Yeah.
about it than normal.
Maybe
Normally,
overly
nobody-
dramatized it a
Nobody
little.
mentions Gordian knot generally, it's just this is pre-existing non-conforming. That's what we usually call it, right? Like, I'll leave it at that and then
Yes.
assess what we're going to
And
do.
we're unsure of where that number came from, but what we have are the proposals.
Are there any other comments from the board, thoughts?
We're unsure of what number came from.
The existing percentage numbers.
But we have them here, right? And they've been certified.
We have those. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Weber, but we don't know how it got from the 35% that was permitted, where they got the permits in the past,
Got it.
to what has been confirmed as 38.8%, correct?
And we're looking for the 40.3, 22.1, 27.6 over the standards established in the current DRO.
And just to clarify, there's no indication that the house was ever 35%, right? We don't know. It could have always been
Right.
38.8%.
It's kind of
possible.
assumed because they have a permit, but anything can happen. Something could have been missed. That 38% could have been missed when it was originally permitted. Could have been added on to after the fact. We don't know. But what we have is a request for 40.3 and 22.1. That's what we should be focusing on.
And when you focus on that, the point of indicating that there's an existing building, an existing coverage, helps to understand that this, in terms of its total application, is working with what's there. So when we talk about, for example, the building coverage, 18% is permitted, currently 22, it's going to 22.1. And you've heard Mr. Clark indicate they've worked to try and reduce as much as they can on lot coverage. They've responded with regard to the building coverage, and the FAR has been explained by the architect. We're talking about keeping the roof pitch not too high, and you're including the enclosure of the cave at the front entrance, all certainly capable to allow this board to grant the variances from the current standards, as Mr. Steiner has pointed
You
out.
mentioned that 5% of it is the pool and the porch. That really means from the 35%, we're really looking at something like 0.3% of undesirable.
Very good.
I just want to make a comment. That's like C of O, like that doesn't really mean anything. That's just they come in, make sure you have the smoke detectors and the carbon monoxide detector.
Oh,
I've been there.
No.
I've been there as a realtor, and that's all they're doing is just making sure so the next owner can move in.
It's a
That's
boilerplate, it's a boilerplate form.
That certification has been the subject of litigation, and that held up in a suit against the city, where the city did not allow a certain development, and as a result, it went in. It was Matarazzo, and there was a recovery under 42 U.S.C. 1983. That certification matters.
Well, they're not doing much when I've been there for plenty of them, so.
No, because if they get a permit to, live in the home, for building permit, CO and everything.
It should be checking everything off, but they
Right,
don't, yeah.
you cannot then, as the city, go back after the fact and say you're out of compliance with zoning, that we would be stopped from taking that position.
Okay.
So we've kind of gotten into this gray area of not really being in executive session either, because we're having a conversation here.
We did open it up.
Right, so let's kind of resume in the executive session part of this with comments from the board.
Gee, I
So-
remember your memo.
What's that?
Yeah, I remember your memo from last year.
Oh, sorry. Any comments?
I'm looking here, and that's why I asked for the demolition part of this building. When we demolish something, we can build to the same existing things. So the existing are honored because they did not demolish them, and we're building on the same footprint. So really, what we're looking here is, can we accept that difference between them? We don't have to go back to the original one, so I think we can look at the proposed and see if it's tolerable, if this building can take this slight increase, 22 to 22.1. That's a minor. 20 and 27 is a little off. But the first one is really the maximum lot coverage, and that's exactly because of the pool.
Pool in the porch.
Yeah. So I certainly would support this application. I don't think I have a problem with it.
I thank you. I could support this application. I have to say that I think the house looks great. I think it's something that will be a complement to the neighborhood. I don't want to say like statement, but it's not over massive. It's not too much massing, but it's actually the appropriate amount of massing, where compared, like, it's almost like the house was a little bit dwarfed by the lot. So I think this is a nice scale. Also, having taken a walk around, the backyard, I do feel like this is a much nicer layout with sort of, you had a very close wall, like, into the patio, so you're backing it. There's already a wall there, so you're just putting the wall in a different place. And it kind of opens it up and makes it a little more functional for you, and it looks like it would be very aesthetically attractive. I am not, I think the pre-existing condition is what it is. It may be a little hard to get to the root of it, but overall, I think that the property can handle the changes that are being proposed without having any detriment to the public. And in fact, I think that the stormwater improvement is significant because, those drains, you're on a hill. If all that water from your property is now draining down to the street and going down the road and causing ice in somebody's yard, in their driveway, in the peak of winter, you've sort of helped eliminate part of that problem by managing the water on site, or as much of it as possible. So I see that as a significant benefit. Anyone else?
Well, I think it's a big ask from what it should be to what they are asking, and I'm not sure I can support this.
I can support it. I agree with.
Can you speak into the microphone?
I'm sorry. I can support it. I agree with you, Vice Chairman, that I think it's an improvement to the neighborhood, and an improvement to the house, and an improvement to the aesthetics of Summit.
Do we have a?
With all due respect to Joe, I think he's got a good point, but I think the property can tolerate it.
I'll move to approve.
Second?
Mr. Curran?
Yes.
Mr. Malay?
Yeah?
Mr. Steiner?
No?
Mr. Yuko?
Yes.
Ms. Chifo?
Yes.
Mr. Neering?
Yes.
Vice Chair Zahn?
Yes.
Thank you.
No more Gordian knots. Find a better word.
We have a set of minutes, right?
Yes, sir.
Basically,
Okay. So,
Set of minutes.
we have no resolutions.
Correct.
And just one set of minutes. Yeah. We're still in session, sorry. Can you just give-
You can
Okay.
go out.
So, we have some minutes.
So it is the April 7th, 2025 minutes. The members that are able to vote are Mr. Steiner, Ms. Chifo, Mr. Malay, Mr. Neering, and Vice Chair Zahn.
As amended, so moved.
Second.
Yeah, voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
None.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Let's go home. I
So
Wait,
moved.
motion?
So moved.
move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Thank you.
The world seconded it.
Wow.